Hello. Welcome one and all. Yes, hello. It is Sunday. It is Warhammer Sunday times. Yes, welcome. I've got sick of doing the big, long, drawn-out introductions, so I'm just going to cut to the chase today, because it's kind of always the same viewers. Welcome, everybody. It's Warhammer Sunday. That time when I take a break from everything else and work on Warhammer-related shenanigans. Yes. As always, at the moment, we're still working on, I like the way I say we, like we're all sat around doing it. I'm still working on my Angry Marine, my Primaris Funko Pop Angry Marine that includes swear words on it. Shh. So we're going to be carrying on with that today. Welcome. I will do some quick normal introduction stuff. If you've never seen one of these before, do come along. If you're watching this, and you can see there's a chat here, but you're not able to join in the live... Stay there. Not able to join in the live typey chat. You do want to come and join in. We've got some stickers to give away later on. Everybody in the chat's awesome anyway, so come and join in. Just click on the YouTube icon that's down in the bottom right hand corner of the YouTube player, and that'll take you to the YouTube page where you can join in the live chat. Come and say hello. Dad's in there, Chris is in there, Jamie's in there. We've got loads of people in there that are all lovely. They'll all look after you. They'll all be dead nice, and unless you cross them, in which case they'll all just rip you limb from limb and burn you alive, which, you know, does happen sometimes, but not very often. So welcome. It is a lovely, damp, cold Sunday outside, so it's nice and toasty in here. So it's always nice to be indoors when it's raining. What have I got to talk about? I've kind of lost my thread now because I decided to change the opening, and now it's all gone wrong because I don't know what I was going to replace it with. I did forget Guthorm, as always, because I'm rubbish. I'm at all 6s and 7s now. I don't really know how to start. I should really plan these things. As always, I've got my good friend Enormous Coffee. There you go. That's just annoyed 50% of the audience who hate slurping noises. Sorry about that. Actually, it tastes horrible when you do that. And I didn't get much. As always, I'm going to be working on him, painting him while we're talking. Stream boss battle ongoing. Kevin, Simon Reynolds, Golden Demon winner, lovely bloke. He is the current stream boss. If you want to win between 200 to 500 quid worth of Warhammer or Forge World stuff, then what you need to do is get doing super chats and tips through the tip jar, which is streamlabs.com/model making guru. It's down there, the tip jar. Every time a tip or a super chat goes through, super chat, the dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. Every time one of those goes through, it takes some of Kevin's health off, takes that health dial down a little bit. We've got a little bit here you can see is black. That's where some of the health's come off. Every time a tip or super chat comes through, it takes some of that health off. The more the tip, the more the super chat, the more health comes off. If you get him to 0, if you put through some dosh and it takes him to 0, you win all the money raised through the tips and super chats. I will tell you how much you've got, and you can get me to order whatever you want from Games Workshop, from Forge World, or if you're in the EU or the UK, from Goblin Gaming, my channel supporters. You can get them from there because they ship to the EU and the UK, and you can get 20% off everything there. So, yeah. So get your tips and super chats coming through. Let's have a think. I had a new subscriber 3 hours ago, James Stewart. Ooh, welcome, James Stewart. Are you famous actor James Stewart? I can't do a James Stewart impression. I'm not even going to bother. I wish I could, because James Stewart's brilliant. Welcome, James Stewart, new subscriber. Right, let's have a quick look at the chat before we go in. I've got the chat here in front of me. Let's have a look and see who is in. Now, Dad was the first person in today. He was actually in about 3 hours ago when I just first put up the stream. By the way, I hope you can all see me and hear me okay. Let me know if I'm too loud. What was that? Skullfish, thank you very much. Skullfish says, Soup Cat. Skullfish. So Skullfish is in. We know Skullfish, therefore. Thank you very much, Skullfish. You can see a tiny bit of Kevin's health came off there. Yeah, do let me know if I'm too loud or too quiet, or if the visuals are okay. I don't know until you guys tell me. So I have had a few drop frames while we were doing the pre-live stuff. So do let me know if you get any ropiness with the collections, because I can't tell unless... The only way I know that the stream's fallen over is because Dad or Chris sent me a text saying stream's fallen over. I'm just sat here talking like a spoon. So anyway, yes, Dad was first in hundreds of hours ago. Pascal just didn't turn up for about an hour. Slacking. Pascal Leverse is in. Now I've missed the first bit of chat, so next up I have Eric Graham. Hey everyone. Quano Man, who has finished fitting the frustrating evil pipes that hate me onto his Y-wing. Yes. We have Beyond Hope is in. Hi guys. I'm here if my name is cold. Beyond hope. But I'm not, if you get me. So he's in, but he's not in. He's having to conduct some urgent surgery on his Death Watch kill team. He glued the shoulder pauldrons onto the opposite shoulders. Oh, and you can't really see that on camera, but I'm doing that. Oh, why I oughta. I've got loads of energy today, I don't know why. We have Mordraka09. Let's have a look. Mordraka says, time to top up these drinks, people. Time for Misa. Should have not sat with my godchildren for 6 hours yesterday on those 3 prequel films. Darth Jar is running rampant in my head. I can tell you, I can give you some reassuring news. You didn't watch anything. There are no such films. See, you can ignore it now. It's gone. It's gone from your mind because it didn't happen. Those don't exist. Candygram from Mongo is in. Of course, Dad is in, one of your mods. Dad is lovely, lovely fella, but he will break you in half, burn you alive, and send you out into space without a spacesuit if you cross him. And of course, Chris at Gross Models is in as well, one of your mods. Skullfish is in. And everybody tries to type Skullfish like that. We have... Who else has come in? I've missed a few people. DMNKLR says, can it be? I'm actually online at the time of one of these. What's going on? Is it miracles? I'm going to guess that's Demon Killer. DMNKLR. Demon Killer. Demon Killer. Welcome, Demon Killer. I'm going to just call you Demon Killer. I've decided. Lynn Dipple is in. Heidi peeps, what did you all have a time change and not tell me? Nope, same as normal, Lynn. You just woke up a bit early. Morning. So welcome, Lynn. I guess you're not working today. We have Chris at Gross Models came in. We've got Jamie Bone is in. Hi, Jamie. Are you not on holiday yet? Has it not started yet? Candygram from Mongo says, fun fact, Brian Blessed had a birthday this past week. I'm going to have to go away from the microphone for this. Wait there. Quintilis Varus, where are my eagles? I hope that wasn't too loud. That's my worst, best, worst. I can't do Brian Blessed either. Let's just move on. Was that loud? I don't know. Did that break all the speakers? It was a lot better in my head before I did it. Is there anyone in Rome who hasn't slept with my daughter? Yeah, I wish I could do a Brian Blessed, but I can't. I'll tell you who does a very, very good Brian Blessed impression. I won't tell you that because I've forgotten his name. Never mind, moving on. Oh well, dear me. Let's have a look. We have Osric 9000 and Snowman HFC are both in. Welcome to both of you. We have my chat jumped. Gaz Vickers is in. Welcome, guys. He says, I wonder if model making guru made himself sick eating all of the fudge. My very, very good friend Scott from Orkney sent me lots and lots of Orkney Orkney fudge. It was an Orkney, what do you call it? It's the Orkney, not brick, not barb. I can't remember what it's called now. It's the fudge anyway. Lots of that stuff. And he sent me some puffin poo, big white coconutty things, delicious. And I didn't make myself sick. And I did share. Because Eric Graham says, yes, quite disappointing he didn't share. I did share. I gave half of it to Mama Fox. She ate most of the puffin poo, to be honest. Gunther's there. More Draka. Frankie's in. Frankie goes to Hobbywood. Hey, Frankie. Welcome into Zone 88. G'day into Zone. Wayne Haywood is in. Hey, everyone. Hope we're all well. Gaz Vickers. All the swear. Disgraceful young kid. Oh, don't forget, of course, you won't hear me swear. Although this does have some slightly rude words on it. You won't hear me swear, but you're welcome to be all grown up and use swears in the chat. I don't care. It doesn't affect my monetization, so I don't care. Just don't be a spoon. No politics, no religion, but you can talk about what you want. And if you talk about Hong Kong, I won't ban you. We'll move on from that one. That's gaming news, so we'll move on from that one quickly. But a little bit of gaming. Never mind. I was trying to be current. Moving on. Anyway, where's Odo? Says Lynn. Odo's down under my desk where he lives because he doesn't fit on here when I'm filming. It only comes out on Monday nights. Eric Graham says, crazy weather stat here this week in Denver, Colorado. Hit mid-70s for the high. 7 hours later, in 20s with snow on Wednesday. Wow. I was debating whether to do a kind of American weather reader there, but no. Voice. Fox is alive! You're thinking of Robin Infox. He does a good Brian Blessed. Yes, Robin Ince from Infinite Monkey Cage. There's a brilliant line where he's talking about Brian Blessed and he's like, let's go to the top of a volcano and then eat it. I I love Robin Inns. Robin Inns is very, very good at doing Brian Blessed. Thank you for that, Paul. Paul from Team Inept, another one of your mods. If you swear, Paul won't ban you. If you don't swear, he will ban you. Yeah, I watched a clip of Brian Blessed doing commentary on a snooker match earlier. Very interesting. Yes. Michael Doherty, afternoon all. Welcome, Michael. Lynn Dipple says, swear, swear, swear. Skullfish says, fartbox. Nim Syndrin is in. Welcome, Nim. And James Nelthorpe says, hey all. Welcome, James. Welcome, welcome. Right, so I'm out of breath now because I ran across the room and did my Brian Blessed. Whew, took all the energy out of me. Have a swig of coffee. So today, we shall carry on. Chronoman says, no religion. Is this a bad time to say I'm the god of my own religion and my followers get mountains of fudge? And then Osric 9000 says, boob. Boob is not really swearing. I can say boob. So yes, we're going to carry on with this chap today. It may be a bit similar to last week in that I'm just painting. I was going to do some chipping off camera when I finished the show last week. I'm going to put some gloves on actually because I don't want to chip the paint. I was going to carry on with the chipping. But I didn't get a chance, so, off camera. So this week I wasn't doing chipping again. But I'm doing chipping again, so there you go. Let's put some gloves on. Thumb goes in the thumb hole, Fox. Come on, you've put gloves on before. You know what you're doing. Gaz Vickers says, knocks on Fox's door. Can I interest you in the Book of Sith and the word of our Lord and Saviour Jar Jar? Slam. Do you know what? Door-to-door salesmen have got the habit of doing now? Because we've got a sign on our door that says, if you're a door-to-door salesman, please go away, and in various unpolite terms, it just basically says, go away. Get lost, we're not interested, we don't buy anything over the door. Go away, don't care what you're selling. Now they've got the cheek now, they come to the door and they say, hello, I'm blah, 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 I'm not selling anything but, and then they try and sell you something, in which case you slam the door. Or I've had a few people that come and said, blah, 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 and they're like selling stuff, and I'm said, are you physically incapable of reading the sign? And they go, oh, I'm dyslexic, I can't read. And it's like, first time I was like, okay, fair enough, I'm still not buying anything. Second time I'm like, yeah, this is and yeah, they're all doing it now. So it's like, oh, cheeky, still not buying anything. So yes, we're going to do more chipping today. So we're only going to use 3 colours. We're using Dawn Yellow for the yellow chipping. We're using Fulgrim Pink, possibly, for the red chipping. Although I might try Squig Orange first and see what that looks like. I don't know yet. Squig Orange might not be a different enough colour. I've got the sniffle. I need to do my nose because I've got the sniffles already. I'm going to have to go back later on and listen to that me doing Brian Blessed and see how loud it was, because I was literally halfway across the room. Right. Apologies for the snifflings. Oh, the horror decapitation on the telly, says Skullfish. So how are you all? I hope you're all well. I really am at all 6s and 7s today because I don't know, I've got loads of energy and I didn't plan very well, and I changed the beginning and then it all went a bit wrong. Bryce Sigmund says, hello all. Welcome, Bryce. Welcome. So we have here the palette of wetness, or the moist palette. But I am deaf, says Dad. Yeah, I'm deaf. I can't read signs on your porch that say no salesman. So we'll carry on with the yellow first of all. Carolina Roberto says B. Hi. Bit of a typo. Welcome, Carolina. Welcome. Roberto. I like that name. Roberto. Where are you from, Carolina? Where are you hailing from? So we're going to try some of this. We'll get some of this Dawn Yellow. Dawn Yellow. Was I using? Yes, I was using Dawn Yellow. It's a nice pale. Nearly put my brush in my coffee. Nearly. Looks like a great time to start watching, says Lily Frost. Welcome, Lily. Demon Killer says, hello. I was pissing by. I thought I would drip in. Oh, got it wrong. Never mind. Joke's dead. Moving on. I'm not saying, says Carolina. Oh, well, that's fine. Just curious. Right. So let's do some chippage. So if you remember, we did some chipping on the backpack last time. I don't know if it really comes out on camera. Keep in mind, of course, that what you're seeing on your telly screen is not quite the right colour in reality. I've tried to get the colour balance as close to real as possible, but it's either too pale or too... When I get the yellow just right, the red's glowing like the sun, and when I get the red just right, the yellow's kind of pale or overexposed. So it's kind of close. It's reasonable, but you might see it. But we did the Dawn Yellow chipping on the backpack, and then we did some Skaven Blight Dinge inside those chips. And we're just going to carry on with that today. So I've got a brush that's far too big. Maybe put that one back again. I shall start with my Winsor & Newton Series 7 00. Bryce Sigmund says, alright, I got a poll, a question for everyone. Zaku MF06F or MF06J? I can't remember the difference between them. So I have to say, I do not know. All Zakus are good. I just can't remember the difference between those two. So I do not know. Yes, I would say. That would be an ecumenical matter. Now, this is where we're working on the chipping on the head, and it gets tricky now because we want to do a fair bit of chipping, but not... We want to get some paint on the brush, which would be a good start. Do you know? A fair bit of chipping, but not too much. I don't want it to look too stupid and ridiculous. Now, I'm not just doing edge highlighting, because I can't really do very good edge highlighting, and I don't really subscribe to that at all. The sort of games. I need to put my magnifier on so I can see. I don't really subscribe to the edge highlighting school. I mean, it can look good. It can look good in certain situations, like for metallics, it can be. But when you're doing it all over a model, it just doesn't look real to me in a lot of ways. It looks a bit weird. I've got my magnifier on, so if I won't be able to read the chat very easily, so I do apologise. So do a very fine, faint yellow line down the centre of the face mask, with a few chips coming off. Because we're going to have some chipping around the face. We'll chip around the tops of these vents. We'll just paint them in the yellow colour, because it's a raised area where you would get chipping. And remember, the plan is that these aren't the only chips. There will be chips inside these chips. Also remember to keep scale in mind. It's very rare you'd ever see a paint chip bigger than a human hand, bigger than a few centimetres. So don't do massive big blobs. That's not convincing or realistic. What you really want to be doing is tiny little chips, and if you want a bigger chip, you make it by building it out of little tiny chips. That's how real chipping works. Little chip appears, then another one pops up, and they'll kind of get together, and all the paint falls off. So I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm just going to put little chips here and there. I'm not going to go ridiculous nonsense crazy here. A, because I don't want to spend an entire day just doing chipping, because I'll get bored. And B, I don't want it to look too over the top. When I say about bored, I'm actually at this stage on the Cesabe as well, so I've got a lot of days of just doing chipping ahead of me. Yeah, it's fun, but after a while it can get quite frustrating. After many, many hours, Mahoney. So anyway, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all good. How is everyone? Has Dad asked the question yet? Hope you're all well. Let's see what's been going on this week for me. No big major news releases. I did upload the latest episode of the Cesabe Ver Shanghai Dragons Ver Borderlands build. That is now up and on Patreon for your watching pleasure. That is a Patreon exclusive series, so you have to be a patron to watch it. But I did also put up online a little sort of video build diary for non-patrons. So it's just like a catch-up. So at least you've got something to watch, rather than nothing whatsoever. Now what I'm going to do here, remember what I said about paint chips not being big? I'm going to do a big paint chip here, as if the big lots of paint's chipped off on the face. But I'm going to build it out of little chips. So you end up with a bright area and little dark areas in the middle. That way it gives the effect that rather than just being one massive chip, it's actually made up of lots of little chips that are all just in the same place. There's a lot of wear and tear on this part of the mouse. Maybe that's where he puts his straw. Could be. And how else is he going to get into his big tall cup of Poke-Polar? You know what I mean? So it could be where his straw goes, so it's taking a bit of the paint off there. I'll zoom in a little bit for you. JS Idaho says, hello my friends, keeping it real short today, so cheers to everyone and have a great day. Thank you JS for coming in. Hope you can keep popping back in. Yes, he has asked the question. Okay, there, yeah. So bench and belly. What's on your bench, what you're working on? And what's in your belly, what have you had or what are you going to have for your dinner? I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. But what I want you to do, because it's a webcam, which means it starts off looking like ass anyway. It is a webcam, so it does look a bit like ass. And the quality is terrible anyway. But when you zoom in, it's even worse. So I'm going to zoom in for you. But if the quality is not good enough for you, let me know in chat and I'll zoom back out again. Because it always looks terrible when you zoom in because it's a digital camera. And digital cameras with digital zooms is terrible. But at least you might have a better idea of seeing something. Of course, I'll just go out of shot all the time though. So now I was saying about edge highlighting earlier on, but there are certain occasions where edge highlighting is a good idea, and that is, for example, where there is actually an edge, like here. Now I'm not going to do it just as an edge highlight. I'm building it up as paint has chipped off, because when paint chips off in reality it chips off edges and things where there's an edge for friction to occur and things like that. So I'll try and make it a nice straight edge there, but it's just to give it some depth. But I'm going to limit that kind of edge highlighting to things like that, because that's how paint actually behaves. A little bit of water. Anyway, so the latest episode of Sazabi that's gone up. It's my Sazabi Verkar Vershango Dragons Ver Borderlands, which is a Patreon build for George, one of my lovely patrons. That is up now. So if you're a patron, you can go and watch that. If you want to watch it, you have to go and become a patron. What else? I also put up the latest episode of the Diagostini 1/18 scale X-Wing build. That is up in early access for patrons, and so it's patron only at the moment, but early access just means that a video goes advert free and patron only for the first week, and then after a week it's available for everybody. Not every video goes to early access, but regular normal videos do. Got to give my patrons something. They are supporting me financially. Got to give them some perks and rewards. Put a big scratch on there, I think. Let's give them a scratch. Scratching now. No, I can't really get a scratch on it because it's a bit perpendicular to, or it's a bit parallel to the vents. Let's do one like this. There we go. It's always nice if you want to really get the effect of scratch and scuff paint. Don't just do chipping, do scratches as well, because nothing makes it pop. Nothing makes your paint job and your weathering pop more than a well-placed scratch. It just brings something to the table. Just makes things suddenly work better. It doesn't have to be big, just like there's a little scratch on the side, you probably wouldn't even notice it. And try not to keep things symmetrical, obviously. I'll have a look at the chat in a second, see what people are benching and bellying. Now you see when I get a nice crisp edge like this, what you can do to start out your chipping adventure is just get your brush at 45 degrees and just touch it in bits like this. Bit. Don't do a solid line. Just move your brush up and down like that and just touch it at 45 degrees. That gives you then a place to start for doing your chipping. This is just first of all picking out the edge. Now I'm holding the brush quite a far bit back here. I'm not holding it like this as normal, I'm holding it back here, because that way I can get the natural shake of my hand can be emphasised a bit more. And I can if I want the brush to skitter across the surface, of course, then letting my hand shake and holding the brush from a distance, like halfway down, means it's amplified a bit more. So we've got some dots and spots on there on the edge. Now you could just leave it like that. If I wanted to be super realistic, that might be enough. That would be kind of realistic. But what we're going to do is we're going to build on some of those. So for example, look at what you've done and just let your imagination take over. So here there's a bit of a blob. So what we're going to do is we're going to build that out into a bigger chip. Like that. Maybe it goes onto there like that. So you've got a bit of the original yellow in the middle. And then what we can do is we can add some satellite chips. Just small. And it just means it looks, rather than just looking like a chip from nowhere that's just happened, it's got more of a radiating out effect. So maybe something's hit this and gone ping, and bits have kind of pinged off. And what I might do as well is add a scratch. Get some paint on the brush. Scratches are tricky because you want to make them very fine. So you're almost not touching the surface at all with the brush. Almost. And what I find is if you do a scratch, do little dots. There you go. You scratch, it wouldn't necessarily be just one straight line, it might be lots of little dots where something's skittered across the surface, but I might do another little line there. Again, hold the brush back from the start. Do another one here. If you can, when you're trying to do any kind of line, just try and move the piece around so you're actually painting towards yourself, because painting down like this with the brush is I'm here, obviously I'm here, painting towards yourself. I know it's 45 degrees on screen, but I'm here, so painting down towards yourself is actually the best way of doing a straight line, rather than trying to paint back or left or right. Sometimes you can't, but sometimes you can. What we can do is I can build that out a bit, pad it out, and we'll do the same on the edge, on the inside edge there. Of course, we'll do a little bit here just to, and it joins up nicely with that scratch that I put on there, as if so you've got some little common ground. And there you go. So now you've got like a little sort of chip ding there, which when we put some other colours on there will just look kind of interesting, like a ricochet or something like that. A bit more interesting than just is YouTube being funky again, or is it just me? No, he always sounds like this. Let me check the dropped frame scenario. Hang on. Oops. Let me drop my brush, my very expensive brush that I've just lost now. Where's it gone? Oh, hang on. Where's it? Give me a minute, guys. I've just dropped my brush and it's vanished into the dark. Where are you? There you are. I have it. I have it. You wouldn't think you could lose a black brush on a brown carpet. Let me just check for drop frames and blow my nose a little bit. Let's have a look. No, I've got no drop frames at my end. So it could be a YouTube issue. I'm not showing frames dropped this end, so if you're getting problems, it probably is YouTube. Ooh. Sniffly nose. Ooh. Duncan never drops his brush, says Paul at Team Inept. Duncan never drops his brush on a video. He might have. I'm sure I've seen him drop things. I've seen him drop something and break it on a live stream. I'm sure he dropped something on one of the painting live things and it's like, oh no! And it cracked or broke something. So what we can do now is we can build out some of these chips. Just make them a bit bigger. And try and keep them completely random. So if I have like 2 or 3 of them, don't make them all equally spaced. And then have a bit where there's no chips. And then do a big chip. Just try and keep it as random as. Again, hold the brush a bit further away, and if you just hold it like this, what I tend to do is hold the brush from further away, but then grip it quite tightly. And if you can, rest your hand like here on an edge or something, because then what you'll find is if you hold it loosely, it's fairly stable. But if you try and grip it quite tightly, then when you just try and relax your hand or you get a bit of a shake going on, it just tends to do that. And also, if you hold it tightly, I hold it between the finger and thumb there, so I can, however you hold it, I know Chris holds his like that, which is, I can't do that. But if you, however you hold it, whichever fingers are not involved in the holding of the brush, use them, do that. It's usually these last two fingers, just wiggle them a little bit, because when you're holding it, if you wiggle those two fingers, in my case those three, it just helps it wobble even more. So whether it's those two or those three, just get used to it. You don't have to do this with your hand, just wiggle your thumb and fingers and hold it further back. Hold it reasonably tightly. And then if you almost don't touch it, you're literally only just about touching it to the plastic, to the model. It's really, you're getting the brush close enough that the paint just sucks from the brush to the model. That's kind of how it's working. You're almost not touching. If you want really small chips, go for a small pointy brush, but use the point on a flat area. Use the point of the brush. It's one of the rare times you'll use a point. Excuse me. If it's an edge, you can use the 45-degree trick. But if you want to get little chips on a flat surface, go for the point. And you're almost not touching it, and you're just skittering the brush about. It's almost a case of move the brush around. You're kind of moving it this way and that way. With your, again, whatever fingers are attached to the brush, you're moving it like this. I'm just moving those in this case, but I'm also moving it that way as well. You're just getting used to doing it with your fingers. You're not moving your hand at all. My actual physical hand is not really moving. It's mostly in the fingers, all in the fingers. Nothing in the wrist. Refresh and drag. Oh, wrong show. No, it's always the right show, Lynn. Now, what I'm going to do here, you can see here, I've got this thing painted on the front with a rude word on it. Now, it's reasonable to assume that this is painted on top of the yellow paint. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to have some chips here. But I'm going to put the chips over that because it's almost irrelevant that there's a thing painted on the front there. You know, natural wear and tear doesn't care that there's something painted there. So what we'll do is we'll put a chip here. And we'll just keep doing some more chips. Maybe put a scratch across. Make that scratch match. Now I will do ones in red as well, because it would look weird if all the chips on the red painted bit were just yellow. So some of this will be going over with red. But I want some of the, as if the paint's gone back to the yellow first of all. It'll all make sense when it comes together finally. Now, I do apologise if this episode isn't going to be very exciting if I'm just sitting here doing chipping all day. But hey, what can you do? To make sure the chipping goes underneath as well. See here, I'm just suggesting perhaps he's done a few headbutts in his time. Being an angry marine, headbutts are entirely likely. But I need to make sure any scratches and scrapes don't just go across that big thing painted on the front, because that will be really weird. For the one big scratch to be right in the middle of that bit of artwork, that will be a bit weird. So we'll do some scrapes there. Now it is possible to get carried away and go too far. It's entirely possible, and I always do. But don't worry too much. Don't overthink it. Just crack on. Have fun. Remember, if you make a mess of a paint job, there's two options. First and foremost, you can always strip a model, strip the paint off and start again. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Or, just remember, if it does go completely wrong and it looks terrible, just stop, put it to one side and say, oh well, that didn't quite work, but I've learned some things. Let's go off and do the next build and do something else instead. And that's it. Later on you might decide to go back to it and maybe strip it off and start again. But that's it. It's not the end of the world. If you make a mess of a paint job, don't panic about it. You're not building for a competition. You're not, You know, if it's not a commission build, then it doesn't actually matter. All that matters is that you're having fun, because that's what this is all about. So don't panic if you make a mess of a paint job. Nobody gets it right 100% of the time. I don't get it right 100% of the time. Nobody does. And if someone ever comes to you and says, I've painted this thing and it is perfection, there is nothing more I need to do to it, good God, I'm awesome, look at my awesome work, excuse me, I've got a tickly throat, then you need to slap them and never take their word for anything or value their opinion about anything ever again, because that's not how a proper artist works. I've said this before, a real artist has nothing but self-deprecation and self-doubt. That's the whole point. An artist worth his or her salt will always have that feeling of imposter syndrome. If an artist doesn't have that kind of imposter syndrome feeling, then they're not a good artist. Because no artist is ever truly happy with their work. There's always something they think they can do better, or they could have done better. There's always something they're not happy with that they think could have been improved, but they ran out of time or patience, or they just gave up on it. There's always something. Nobody will ever, a good artist will never ever say, I am complete, this is done, I can do no more. You know, a good artist might say, that's as much as I want to do with it because I've got bored of it, or because I fear that I've got as good as I can take it, but if I do anything more, it's just going to kind of make it, it's going to bring it back from that and worsen it. Like with, you know, that's a reasonable stance to say, I've done everything I can on it that I'm happy with. I worry that if I add more, it's going to look too cluttered or too whatever. That's a valid concern. That's kind of reasonable. You're not saying it's perfect, you just say that's as far as I want to take it, because I'll go too far. I'll go full 360 from not bad to terrible. That's a reasonable concern. And that's a sign of a good artist. But yeah, no artist will ever say, this is perfection and I cannot improve on it anymore and I shall stop. Because no, you're clearly not a talented artist if you do that. Or not worth of any opinion anyway. Can you just paint over the chip like it's been painted over to hide a repair, says Lynn. You absolutely could. Because the thing about, that's a good point there, Lynn. The thing about weathering, remember, is that you're just trying to tell a story. You're just literally telling a story of what the thing you're painting has been through, what it's seen. So, you know, what has this armour, this suit of marine armour, what has it experienced? Where's it been? What's happened to it in its lifetime? And you're telling that story. You know, you're telling that story of what's happened here. And you can tell that story however the heck you want. Because whatever you do, you can justify it in your head canon. So like you say, you could say, this bit here is because it got damaged and they repaired it. So if you say, well, if you make a mistake and you try and cover it up and you can't get exactly the same paint colour and it looks a little bit like a different colour, you just say, yeah, they tried to repaint it, but it didn't quite get the colour match. It's true, it's kind of what you did, and that might be what you tried, and that's how it came out. So there's always scope for that. So yes, you can absolutely get away with pretty much anything. And it's like I've said before, don't worry too much about it. As long as I'm not putting paint chips like this big on him, which I couldn't really explain. You know, as long as you can explain it in terms of fairly feasible, realistic things, then yeah, you can get away with it. But it's like I said, sometimes you could do realistic weathering and it might look terrible. Like I've said before about the streaks on the back of the van, where the sort of oily streaks from water runoff on the back of the van that I saw were at 45 degrees. Which, if I painted that on a model truck, you'd be like, what are you doing? Why is that streak on the back at 40? That's nonsense. You've ruined the whole model. But I can show you a photograph of a truck with a dirt streak on the back at 45, because when it ran down from the top, the truck was parked up on a curb at 45 degrees. And so the streak was vertical, it's just the truck wasn't vertical. And in real life, you can explain that, but on a model, you'd get sick of explaining that to everybody that saw it. So you'd be like, you know what, let's just not do that. Sometimes it's not worth the extra hassle of trying to make that work. Right, I shall come and have a look at the chat in a second. I'm getting carried away here, of course. I'm just cracking on with it and not actually paying attention to any of you guys, which is a little bit rude. A little bit rude. I've missed all the bench and belly stuff. I've actually kind of been a bit weird today because I've kind of already had my dinner, but it's only obviously like 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock. Because this morning I was reading the news and there was an article on the BBC News website about curry, and I thought, I really want a curry now. And the urge was so overwhelming that I decided that rather than wait till later on today, I'll just have my dinner now. So about 1:30, 2 o'clock, I had curry for my dinner. So I won't have any dinner. It's not like I'm eating it for my lunch. I just won't have any dinner tonight, because I can survive on, one meal a day. It's fine. It's no problem. So that was my dinner. Lamb. It was beef madras. I just had the urge. I'm like, oh, I need to put curry into my entire face now, and I did. So there you go. Bench. Obviously, you know what I'm working on right now because you're looking at it. So I'll do that little bit there. Now the beauty of this is, of course, you may look at this and think, well, it looks a bit over the top, all these like yellow splots everywhere. But the thing is, once you start putting in the dark chips with the Skaven Blight Dinge, what will happen is, and you'll see it later, or you might see it if I get that far, the Skaven Blight Dinge chips will distract from the light yellow chips. And because of those, you'll get that contrast. If you can see on the backpack there, it'll make the eye stop focusing on the light yellow and focus on the grey, and therefore the light yellow parts will just kind of blend away. They'll become part of the yellow. They won't stand out as much as they were before. So that's the kind of effect we're going for. So I have done the yellow on an arm and on the chest. I've not done that arm or the leg or anything like that, or anything on the weapon yet. So. But yeah, it looks a bit weird at first. If you are doing this kind of technique, there are many different ways of doing paint chipping, of course. A horse is a horse, of course. And no one can talk to a horse, of course, unless, of course, the horse is the wonderful Mr. Ed. I don't know where that came from. I don't even know what I was going to say now. I've totally made myself forget. Brilliant. Well done, Fox. Yeah, it always looks weird when you've got that first colour down. But if you're doing chipping like this, because there are many ways to do it, if you're doing chipping like this, don't panic when you get this first coat of chipping down. You think, oh God, it looks like it's got like measles or something's gone wrong. It will all blend away. Because don't forget, of course, we've got to put matte varnish on this. We've got to, there may be other weathering to do. I don't know yet. We've got lots of things we can do to it. We've got the dark chips to go. We might do some, I've not really come up with a name for it, where we do chipping but with very dilute paint, to get more of a staining effect. I might do some of that. I don't know yet though. We might do a glaze, so it'll all kind of blend away. But let's stop for a moment. I shall put him there. I shall have a swig of enormous coffee. I shall have a look at the chat, which is going back hours. Before Dad asks a question, oh, Dad's already asked it. There we go. Carolina Roberto, I didn't mean to be rude, by the way. I said, where are you? I was just being friendly. So, and I don't know if you've said much since then, but you are welcome. You don't have to say where you're from. Let's have a look. What's on your bench and what's in your belly, asks Dad. Just Django. Not just Django, just Django. It's not just Django, it's just Django. Not just Django, just Django. I could go on all night, nobody get that. Django says, the only difference I believe is in the decals. Wait, no. Oh, that's in the two... I'll start that again then. When Bryce says the Zaku MF06F or the 06J, the only difference I believe is in the decals. Somebody does say... Nimcinder says, I built the 06 and it was a nice build other than the Zaku beads. Zaku beads. And Bryce says, the beads. I hate Zaku beads. I hate Zaku beads. Let's have a look. Lily Frost says, I can't remember, but I did... Wow, I really can't speak today or read. I can't remember that... Let me just move this a little bit. Oh, hello, everything. Let me zoom out again. Hang on. I forgot I'm zoomed in. Let me zoom out. I'm not organised today. Because I had my dinner earlier, now I'm all giddy because I've had food and my body's doing all the carbohydrates and sugars and things. Lily Frost, I can't remember the did, but I am all for Zaku 2s. I'm going to paint my Protectorate army while I watch. Cool. Before Dad asks the question, says more Draka after Dad asks the question. Since I'm bouncing between screens tonight, Belly Chicken Cottage Pie, Bench, Conquest issues 20, 21 and 24. What about 23? Lynn Dipple says Fruit Loops, cereal, 2% milk, bench. Oh, you all know, too busy studying for a class right now. Lynn hasn't sorted out a bench yet. She's only recently moved, so. Gaz Vicker said, I don't understand the question. What's a Zaku? And always both of all the things. Bench says, name same as last week. Camphor, I'm on the weapons now, almost done. Belly, gonna make some mini pepperoni pizza bagels. Ooh. More Draka explains that issue 23 of Warhammer Conquest was just the Astra Granite paint. Yes, it was. Pizza with Sloppy Joe mix and tater tots in belly, says Eric Graham. He did say earlier on that he'd put tater tots and Sloppy Joe mix on a pizza and it's the best thing ever. Being English, we have no idea what Sloppy Joe mix or tater tots are. Well, we do kind of know what they are, but we don't know. We never had them, so. Dakar Jet's still on the workbench. Bryce Sigmund says Sazabi for days. Illuminator Arts and Crafts. Welcome, Illuminator Arts and Crafts. Great at the moment. I'm working on my Gundam X Transformers build. I remolded the face. Yes. It looks pretty good, that. If that's the one that's in the boom hut, then yes, it looks awesome. Gaz Vickers on the bench is the Edward ME 109 G4 and a big sticky up pointy thing from 40k. Big sticky up pointy thing. Doesn't actually narrow it down, but we get the idea. Belly soon to be roast gammon with all the trimmings. Ooh, yes. And then Dad says, nice, Gaz, I'm on my way. Idaho, JS Idaho says, breakfast sandwich and pancakes in the belly soon. I need to blow my nose again. I'm going to run out of tissue in a minute. Dad says, spot on. But I can't remember what we're talking about. Lily Frost is eating some brouts. I don't know what brouts are. Is that bratwurst and sauerkraut combined? Osric 9000 says Bombay Bad Boy and Spesmarines. Bombay Bad Boy. I used to like Bombay Bad Boys. I kind of went off pot noodles a bit though when they tried to foist off a kebab pot noodle on me, and I was so happy about that. And then I realised it was just a Bombay Bad Boy. It's like, oh. Also, if you like the flavour of Bombay Bad Boys, there is one single spice you can buy that makes that flavour completely. I think it is turmeric. It might be. Might not be. I could be remembering it wrong, but I've got a spice rack downstairs and I got one spice and I'm like, that just is exactly the entire flavour of Bombay Bad Boy. If I put it on whatever I'm eating, it just becomes Bombay Bad Boy. It's quite nice. Demon Killer says, do pop vinyls take to Bajistan as well? I imagine yes, but I haven't tried it yet and I've been interested in doing some repaints and customs of my own, especially these Warhammer ones. I primed this with... what did I prime it with? I can't remember. I think I primed it with it was a rattle can. It was I think it was the Games Workshop Grey Seer rattle can. I think because I was going to do it yellow, so I didn't want to use a black primer, and I couldn't be bothered getting the airbrush out, so I got the rattle can. But I would imagine yes, it would take perfectly well to Bajistan RS. It's the plastic itself, the vinyl. Because it's vinyl, that doesn't affect anything apart from gluing. and some sanding. It doesn't affect, primers will work on it regardless whether it's polystyrene or vinyl. I did get rid of all the seam lines, and then as I've been painting it, I've noticed a seam line pop up here that was invisible in primer and invisible when I put the first layer of paint down, but only became apparent when I was doing the dry brushing. Now there's a big seam line there, and there's ones on the back of the feet, and I took great pains to get rid of all the seam lines on this, and it's really hard on vinyl to get rid of seam lines. So I got rid of the one on that side, but on this side it came back, and I'm like, oh, you little... Oh. Not much I can do about that now. Scotch broth and the tyrant from hate, says James Nelthorpe. Space Marine looks like he sneezed through his vents. Yes. Lynn Dipple says Din Dins is Domino's pepperoni and pineapple pizza pretzel twist. That's a lot of words. And of course a Dr. Pepper. Yummy. Yes, Dr. Pepper is correct. Mordraka says it was blessed by Grandfather Nurgle, first stage conversion. That's all the gloop coming out of his nostrils. Teaminet says about yes, they take Badgerstan and Raz just fine. Anything Demon Killer thanks them. Yeah, I mean, just because it's vinyl, I did my big 3 foot tall Master Chief, and that's a big vinyl figure, and it took Badgerstan our Res. We use UMP prime, it's the same stuff. I also use Citadel Rattlecam primers and stuff, and they're all fine. Vinyl's absolutely fine for paints and primers. It's just sanding is a ball ache, and gluing, because you can't glue with normal polystyrene cement because it's not polystyrene. But painting is fine. What else we got? Warhammer chipping show, says Lynn Dipple. Yes. He's angry because you take his head off every weekend, Fox. Well, yes, that's what he deserves. Demon Killer says, I tend to caress whatever... I might regret reading this. I tend to caress whatever I'm painting with the brush, using my entire hand to manipulate it. I've found that it helps one to get a really good feel for the brush and grow into its nuances. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you've got like little cheap, crappy disposable brushes, you don't really care. But if you've got like... I've got these Winsor & Newton Series 7, which were gifted to me. I think were they from you, Dad? I think Dad got me these. Somebody did. And they're really expensive, so I'll look after them. But you do notice a difference between just getting paint on, and then if you've got really expensive brushes, you do take your time, and you're a bit more gentle with them, and it does improve your painting. So if you're ever looking at, like, upping your paint game, I do recommend getting yourself some expensive brushes, because you do change the way you paint. And by God, do you clean them every time you finish with them? Oh, yes, you do. Of course, I'm weird, so your mileage may vary, lol. At least my wife has nothing to complain about. Laughing my ass off, yes. Team Inept says, yeah, Dettol is your friend with ruined paint jobs. The Sansa Stark I did yesterday was the second attempt. The first was more like Sarah Pascoe with a cold. Yeah, if you're in the UK and you want to get paint off anything, any kind of paint off something, Dettol is a super cheap and easy and non-toxic way to do it. Some people say brake fluid and stuff. It's like, brake fluid's great, but it's horribly toxic. It'll give you cancer, and you can't pour it down the drain. You have to take it to the tip to dispose of it. So, or you could just go to Tesco and buy a £3 bottle of Dettol, dunk your model in it for 24 hours, and it comes off. And it smells nice. Chris asks Paul if Dettol will work on his mat, because Paul at Team Inept, he doesn't use a cutting mat like we do. He doesn't use a wet palette. He doesn't use a palette. He uses his cutting mat as his palette. So there's like a concretion of paints all over his cutting mat. And I don't think anything will get that paint off there. I think it's just etched on now. We're talking about chip. I was talking about people saying that the work is perfect. Demon Killer says, whenever I find myself satisfied with the piece, I take macro shots of it and it brings me back to reality, lol. I go from hell yeah, I love this to flip my life. Here's a handy tip. If you've made a model, you've been doing painting and building, and at any point in the build you've used masking fluid, say Humbrol Mask or something, where you paint the masking fluid on and it dries like a rubber, and then you paint over it and then you peel the masking fluid off. If at any point you've done that, or you've had blue tack anywhere on it for whatever reason, and you've finished the property, you're like, I've finished now, I can post my pictures to Facebook and show the entire world. Before you do that, take a photograph of it from every angle and then just look at the photographs and zoom in on them. Because what you'll find is, This will happen. If you ever use blue tack in a visible area of a model, like say you're doing camouflage pattern or something, or you've had blue tack because it's been on a stick, or you use masking fluid especially, what you do is you'll use your masking fluid, your blue tack, you'll take it off, you'll finish the paint job, you'll be looking at it for days and days and days, working on it, painting it, you'll finish it, you'll take all the photographs, you'll put them on Facebook, and then 10 minutes after you've uploaded them to Facebook and you're just going through, because we all do it, we put pictures up and then we go and have a look at we all do it. You go and have a look at your own photographs just to look at them and think, yeah, it's not a bad photograph. I guarantee you'll go in, you'll be like, la 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 la, ah, and you'll just see a big blob of masking fluid that you never peeled off, or blue tack or something. It'll be microscopic, but you'll see it and it'll be dead obvious, and you'll be like, how did I not see that for the week after I took all it off? And I guarantee it. If I'd used masking fluid on here somewhere, I guarantee there'd be a little bit in the vent there, or in the vents or somewhere, and I wouldn't spot it till I was looking back at the pictures I'd already uploaded to, say, Facebook or Instagram or something. So I do recommend, whenever you use masking fluids or blue tack, anything like that, take pictures before you post them up, before you put proper pictures onto social media. Because somebody will spot them, and nothing ruins a nice professional looking photograph of a cracking paint job than a dot of masking fluid. And it's sort of, look, there will be one, I can guarantee you it. Candygram from Mongo says, I bought a box of 40 Stroop waffles yesterday, so I'm stocked up now for more model building snacks. Yes, for all your model building snack needs. So look, chat jumped. Nim Cinderin says, I have a new toy, a portable one-person crock pot. I'm thinking that one of these days I might put some cocktail weenies in, some barbecue sauce in it, and take it to a potluck. Chris at Gross Model says, bench, a foot, belly after 8 minutes. Yes. A bit late there, Chris. Chris says to Candygram, that sounds like too many street waffles. You should post some to someone. And Candygram says, would a stamped addressed envelope street waffle survive the... Oh no, I'll start that again. Would a stamped addressed street waffle survive the post? No. Fox used to sell mugs with a mark on them for street balancing accuracy. I do still have them. They're in my Cafe Press store, but I've not used the Cafe Press store for a long time. I must sort them out, actually. They were basically just coffee mugs, but it had like a Stroop, what did it say? Something like Stroop attachment point, a little marking on it for. I'll have to dig them out and put them on because I've got a new store now. If you're interested, in the description below, have I got it in there? Below this video, if you've not got an ad blocker, you'll see a load of things for t-shirts underneath. Under this video, you can go there. There's loads of them. Or there's a thing in the description below the video for my store, my Guru Hut merch store. There's no mugs in there yet. Anyway, where are we up to? I need to scroll a bit. Red Cookster 71. Welcome, Red Cookster 71. He says, hi there, I just bought a massive haul of Necrons, but the vehicles are built, but not painted. Any tips on how to start painting? Absolutely. If they're not painted, get yourself some rattle cans of primer. If you're not an expert model maker, if you're not going to airbrush, get yourself some rattle cans of primer. If it's Games Workshop stuff, it's just all the rattle cans of primer, basically, they're different colours. Get yourself some rattle cans of primer, get them primed. And if they're Necrons, they're all just simple metallic shades. So do have a look. I've not painted any Necrons on my channel, so I can't direct you to any of my videos, but do have a look on Warhammer TV. There's lots of guides on there how to paint all kinds of things in Necrons, and that'll get you to a tabletop standard. I haven't painted any Necron stuff, so I can't. It's very simple. I mean, I can tell you, like, for a basic Necron figure, it's the simplest way to do it is black primer, lead. You could do lead belcher primer, but lead belcher, which is silver colour, lead belcher primer, because then you painted it silver with the primer. Null oil black wash, then dry brush with a silver colour, maybe not lead belcher, but something like Necron compound or another metallic colour. You could do a brown wash over there, like with Agrax Surshade as well, if you want to make them look a bit dirty. And then it's picking out details. So I haven't done any Necron on my channel, so I can't direct you. But yeah, go check out Warhammer TV. Because you looked out with Necrons because they are the easiest to paint. They're dead simple. They're not hard to paint at all. And they're not hard to get them looking good because it's just silver and washes, basically. But welcome as well. Also, if you are new and you're not already a member, do join the Model Makers Boom Hut, my Facebook group. There'll be lots of people in there that can tell you how they've painted their Necrons, give you lots of hints and tips. I shall put a link in the chat for you if I can find it. There we go. It just happens to be ready to roll. Ina Zikonda. I've got to do it with the wrong glasses, so I can't actually. There you go. It's in chat now. Oops. Now I've got the wrong glasses on, so everything's out of focus on my computer screen. Yeah, so if you want to, feel free to join the Model Makers Boom Hut. There's like 4,000 people in there, that, some of whom will have done Necrons, and they can say, dead easy, here you go. And Dad posts it as well. Thanks, Dad. Nim says to Lynn, you're more than welcome to come over to my tiny studio unless I move by then. Just remember to bring something. And Lynn says I'll fly over soon. Demon Killer says I do need to get a Series 7. I currently use Army Painter's Master Series brush and a Raphael 8404 series for my sables. I love them both, they're fantastic, but I want to get others to compare and see what I like the best. The Series 7s I tend to just use for real fine things like chipping and tiny detail work. When I do my ink outlines on the Sazabi, that'll be done with my Triple Series 7 because it's super tiny. The only two I've got, there's only two Series 7s, and they are really, really nice. They've held the point for several years. I do have the Army Painter set. I got the Army Painter Mega Brush set, which is all their brushes. And I've got, like, you know, the Regiment. I've got the Psycho. There's the dry brushes. There's the Insane Detail. So I got the whole set. They are really nice brushes. I do use the Regiment quite a bit. You could actually do, for a typical average Warhammer figure, you could actually paint most of it with the Regiment brush. Because it's not small. I can't get the thing off. It's not small. Which means it'll have a nice reservoir of paint when you get paint on it. But it does have a nice fine tip. It's not super pointy. Because the trick is when you're painting anything, you don't want to paint, if you're painting, just because say you're painting a figure that's this big, you don't want to use a very fine pointy brush to paint it. Because the thing about like very fine pointy brushes is they don't hold a lot of paint and they paint a very fine line. So if you're trying to colour something in, you paint something and you're using a fine tipped brush, you're doing lots of little tiny fine lines. It'll take you forever. You'll reload your brush all the time and you'll get lots of brush marks. The trick is to use a bigger brush than you think you need. So for example, when I was painting, let's say, when I was painting, I don't know, these metallic parts on the backpack, I didn't use a big fine brush. I used, what did I use? I used a good old-fashioned, where's it gone? Can't find it now. I might have destroyed it. And I used a good old-fashioned Citadel layer brush that I now can't find. This is oops, good old-fashioned. Look, everything's falling over on my desk now. In fact, there's supposed to be a plastic tube for that. I think it's just fallen out. Hang on. There's two plastic tubes in there. I've now got a brush. Give me a minute. I've got to find a brush that's not got a plastic tube on the end. Gosh darn it. I've lost too many brushes that way. Downside of storing them upside down is that sometimes the tube comes off and you don't realise. Okay, I don't think I've got a... Okay. In fact, that's a small... It wasn't that small layer brush I used. It was a medium layer brush that I used. But I think it's since gone on to the big scruffy brush pot in the sky. I may have actually... No, I tell a lie, I did actually use the Regiment brush. Which, when you're painting little things like that, you might think, well, that's well too big. But it's not. It holds a nice amount of paint. You can get it flat and on the edges. And you will get used to using a big brush to paint small details. If you use a tiny, tiny brush to paint things other than tiny, tiny details, you are going to get texture, you're going to get wastage of paint, and you're going to get frustration. It's easier to use a larger brush, but don't. Here's the trick. I'm going to have to do a diagram, aren't I? I'm going to have to do my own patented diagrams. Here we go. Patented diagram time. Last week we showed you how paint chips work. This week we're going to show you how to brush things. Yeah, if you've got a brush, there's several different ways you can brush paint. The page is not with diagrams all over it. If you're using the flat edge of the brush, for example, you're wanting to fill in an area, you can use the brush so that, if you imagine your brush is like that, there's your brush, that's the tip there with the paint on it. Imagine that's drawn better, it's actually got a point. When you push that down, if you push your pointy brush down, it'll go flat like that. You'll see it go flat, and eventually if you push it down enough, it'll kind of be that shape. And what you do is you use that to your advantage. You use that flat edge there or there, that edge or that edge, against edges. So if I've got, say, let's say I had this edge here, I've got like a flat bit and then a little raise and then a flat bit, and I want to paint that, but I want to get one colour here and one colour here. I'd get my brush, which might be pointy, imagine that's the brush tip, and I'd press it down so it's stuck out like that, and then I get that against there, and I'd move it very carefully, and I keep the pressure the same. And that's how you can paint using a straight line. So that's how you can paint using it as almost like a spreader, a spatula. But when you're painting fine details or paint chips, what you want to do is, you don't want to get the brush like that and then push it down onto the plastic. There's your plastic. You don't want to push it down so that you end up with that. Your brush sticking down onto the plastic and you've got, that's all bristle, and the bristles just go like that. That's how you get spongy edges. What you want to do is you want to get, if you are using the tip of the brush for whatever purpose you're using it for, you want to do it so that you've got your bristles there, and you've got the surface just there, and there's enough paint in the paintbrush, it doesn't have to be so thin, but there's enough paint that the paint just kind of transfers itself like that. So you're almost, the moment because you've got your bristles here and you've got a layer of paint outside the bristle, on the bristles like that. So there's your bristles, that's your bristles, and this stuff is the paint. As soon as that layer of paint here touches the surface of the plastic, it goes and transfers itself, and sometimes that's enough. Sometimes when you're painting, you're not even really touching the model with the paintbrush, and that's one of the tricks to getting a nice smooth brush finish. If you do that with a tiny brush, you'll be there approximately forever and you'll grow old, die of boredom. If you do it with a bigger brush, you can use a big fat brush to hold a lot of paint, but because you're not jamming the brush onto the surface, you're just really facilitating transfer of the paint from the tip of the brush to the model. You can just move it along and it'll have a good flow of paint because there's lots of paint in the brush, and it'll just pour out of the brush and onto the surface, and that's how you get nice big coverage. And that's why you see a lot of people painting, like watch Dr. Faust or anybody painting. He paints with a brush the size of France, and yet he gets fine details because he's using that idea. And there's also one other thing you might want to keep an eye out for. One of my brushes, I can't find it, but this one here, you won't see on camera, but if I wet it, I can't zoom in and show you, but the end of the brush, it's not a point. It is actually, it's developed a hook. For whatever reason, it's kind of got the bristle and then there's a little hook on the end like that. It's almost like a little raptor claw. It's kind of like that kind of shape. It's a little hook, but it's brilliant because then I can fill that big fat brush with, it's a shade brush. I can fill it with paint. It's got a nice reservoir of paint because it's a big fat shade brush that's normally got a rounded end. It's now got this hook on the end, and I can just touch that hook to the model and the paint will flow out. But because it's a hook and it's got a very fine point, it's almost like painting with this, but with the reservoir of paint of a big massive brush. So if you ever do get a brush and it develops that fine pointy hook on the end, do not throw it away. They're actually really handy for fine details. It's a bit like, you know, do you want a shot? I'll use some real words. Do you want a double barrel shotgun that holds 2 cartridges, or do you want an auto shotgun with a 30 round mag? There you go. Same gun, one has bigger capacity. I don't know what I said about guns. But yeah, if you ever get one with a hook on the end, don't throw it away. It's great. But always go with a bigger brush than you think you need. Have in your collection round end brushes because they're great for just filling in big blocks of colour. Go for square, flat brushes like these because they're great for doing dry brushing, or if you've got a large flat area, if you're doing vehicles and things, big fat vehicles like tanks, you know, a Warhammer tank, or any kind of tanks, or say a storm wolf or something, you want to get an area painted quickly. These Citadel brace brushes are actually really good for getting a smooth finish. Have a lot of different shapes in there. Don't always just use the smallest, pointiest brush. Let's have a look. Mordraka says to Red Cookster 71, base the Necrons with lead belcher, use null to shade it for most of the areas. The rest will depend on the sept or court the force is from. Exactly, that's what I said. And it can be as simple as that, then just dry brush over with Necron Compound, which is a dry paint designed for that. Again, you can use different colour shades if you want. You can use Agraxur shade as well as null if you want to give them a slightly dirty look. You do whatever you want. But that's pretty much it for Necrons. You have tabletop ready without much effort. Demon Killer says, oh yeah, of course, rebrushes. I actually have 30 or 40 different brushes already and just use those sables for fine details. For base layer, etc., I actually use synthetic size 3s more than anything. I quickly found the coverage and such are far better, and the brushes tend to be dirt cheap. Eric Graham says, Fox explaining things, this week's episode. Lewis Williamson, hey Lewis, says, okay, belly will be roast gammon and all the trimmings, bench building a display case for my USS Enterprise aircraft carrier. That's a big display case. Skullfish, when Fox breaks out the Sharpie. Lynn Dipple says, I need new brushes, mine are old and gross. I do recommend the Army Painter. I need to, do you know, because the lights are on, I get the sniffly nose. Tissue time again. I'm going through tissue like a, I don't know what. Yeah, I do recommend the Army Painter ones. They are really good. I used hook brushes to do eyes, says Demon Killer. Yep, they are really handy. Little hooks on the end, don't throw them away. It's how you end up with a very fine point on a very fat brush. I can't remember how they get that way. It's just kind of luck. Sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. I don't think you can actually make them, because I don't know if anybody knows how it happens. It just does sometimes. Nice, Lewis, you and Gaz having the same dinner. Demon Killer says, I just bought some synthetic bristle water brushes to see how well there's work for this as well. They're made for watercolour, but I want to experiment and see how they'll work. Dad says he's got some hooked brushes. Right, let's crack on with some more chippelations, shall we? Chippelartings. I've not got much done. I don't think I'll get the head finished today. Let's just be honest about it. How are we doing? Everything looks fine. Are we still doing okay for streamage? It's not fallen over at all or anything? Not any stream failures? Nothing like that? No, I am tempted. I'd be tempted to do some chippage inside here where these metal bits are, but I don't know if I can. I'm not confident that I could get it in there and do chippage without making a little complete gash. So I'm tempted not to do that. The idea being they're in there in recess, so perhaps they don't get much things banging against them, so maybe they wouldn't be that chipped. Maybe. I don't know. One tip I would give to anybody wanting to, or learning, or just starting out doing brush painting, is to try a wet palette. Make a wet palette and try it out. And it's not for everybody, but for a lot of people you will find it suddenly makes your brush painting much better. Suddenly you up the skills a bit. It helps because you're not dealing with paint drying out on a dry palette all the time. Gives you longer working time. And for some people it makes all the difference. Yeah, but it might not be for you, but it's worth trying it at least once just to see. Because you never know, you might like it. Now I'm trying to do scratches, but it is quite a faint yellow colour, so it's not really the best. Not like pink over red, which is really obvious. You can't possibly miss. Light yellow over yellow is not the brightest. Doodle 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 doo. So how is everyone? For the love of baby Jeebus, give me something to talk about. Because while I'm busy painting, I'm not busy talking. Oh, I need to zoom in, don't I? Let me zoom in again. Hang on, hang on, hang on. There we go. Do let me know if the zooming quality is terrible and I'll stop zooming in. Do keep in mind, like I said at the start, the colours aren't fully accurate. What you're seeing on screen is not actually the correct colour. It's not actually what it looks like in real life, technically. Now, one little trick I like to do, and you might see it on here, there's a raised edge here, there's like two edges here and here, this bit's raised. What I like to do sometimes is make a little bridge of chips, which is where you have one edge going up like this, one edge here going like that, and then do some chips in the middle, some of which go across all the way, and it just makes it look like, it gives you that impression that, for example, this little bit here, the paint's chipped off, but because it's such a thin little area, they've kind of worked the way across and now you've got paint coming off. It's hard to explain it. Paint coming off both sides. And you just get little bits of chips left over in the middle. It's kind of hard to explain, but it makes sense in my mind. I'll try and find a better example if I can. But if you're new to doing any kind of chipping and weathering like this, and you're not sure, like for example, if you look here, I got a bit of the darker yellow paint on the light yellow paint, and it's like, oh no, that looks terrible, I have to fix that. No, I don't, because what I can do is I can just do this. I can put a chip over it, and now nobody will ever know. There you go, see? Yeah, if you are new to weathering, and you've not really done any chipping before, there are many different ways to do it. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it now, brush painting. It's just that I like doing it like this. I prefer the control. You can get chipping fluids and things where that'll do all the chipping for you, and you just like, you paint your colour on, you put a chipping fluid, you paint your colour over it, and then you just rub the paint and it comes away. That's one way, and that can give you some very realistic, very convincing effects. But I prefer this way. There's lots of different ways of doing it, but if you're struggling to get chipping that looks half decent, don't overthink it too much, because like I say, you are doing a miniature of something. You're doing it's almost like a stylized version. You're not being expected to, unless you intend on doing a completely photorealistic paint job, you are kind of doing a stylistic, almost impressionist version of reality. There's a ridge there on there, but there isn't a ridge on this side. That's a bit weird. I shall have to add one. So, you are creating a kind of stylized view of things when you do these. But if you want a really good way, or a bit of inspiration, aside from going out and looking at actual real chipped vehicles, go to your local scrapyard, or if you've got like construction in your area, have a look at some of the construction vehicles, the diggers, the dump trucks, if you're American, the backhoes. Have a look at the vehicles and equipment on the building yard, on the construction yard. That'll give you some good ideas. Especially where there's things like JCBs that are yellow or orange, because the best colours for chipping are yellows and orange. I don't know why, they just are. They just look the best. So have a look at those. But if you want if you're a video gamer, if you play video games, and you want some good inspiration for chipping, I do strongly recommend Fallout 4. Not because it's a good game, your mileage may vary, but because if you look at the loading screens, or if you find online just still shots of some of the equipment, the tools, the weapons, every time I play that game and I'm looking at the loading screen, I'm studying the chipping on some of the weapons, because it always usually shows like a weapon or a piece of environmental art or an object from the environment. It shows something, and they all look fantastic. Like the Nuka-Cola machine, the chipping, because it's been there for 200 years, the chipping on that looks excellent. Or some of the, the laser weapons, or just various bits and bobs. They can look fantastic because the artists who've made them just make them look brilliant. And you see things like, if you look at one of the laser rifles, you see how where there's it's a green painted area with some paint chips on it, and the green bit is kind of matte, but the paint chip bit is shiny because the paint chip is supposed to be metal underneath the matte paint. And it just gives you good ideas about how chipping works. And because we're doing stylized chipping, of course, it's good to look at stylized reference material, like things in video games, to say the sort of scenery and artwork and vehicles and things of Fallout 4. Even Destiny, some of the stuff in Destiny, if you get some of the shaders that are made to look like weathered and worn, are good examples. Or even if you've got the Shadowkeep expansion, the Arcadia jump ship that you get if you start a new character, the weathering on that is fantastic. I would strongly recommend you start a new campaign with a new build character just to get the Arcadia jump ship to look at the weathering on it. The paint chipping on it looks fantastic. So yeah, you can look for examples of inspirations of things in all kinds of places. Be all different places. You'd be surprised. Oh, I'm getting bored of this head now, though, because it's a lot of area. The difficulties are when it comes to things like this, where it's a lot of big, flat, open areas. And the temptation is to go bat poop crazy and put in lots of chipping everywhere. And it doesn't always need to be that way. It's very tempting to do that. And that's where you can go a bit too far and ruin it if you're not careful. But if you look, I'm just doing that dotting on the edge technique again, 45 degrees, just to get the brush to catch the edge. And then I can expand on that as I go along. Now, I'd expect more chipping on the front here because it's forward facing. So I might have bigger chips coming off the front like that. I might do a collection of chips. If I want to do a big area, what I'll do is lots of little chips and then just make them all joined together. But doing is lots of little ones, hopefully it's on screen, lots of little ones so it can keep that kind of patchy, joined up chips look rather than just a big area of yellow. But let's make it go up the corner here just for fun. It's almost like painting little squiggles and chips. You just can do it fast and then you can refine it with little chips. And keep in mind the greys will also bring it together as well when I do the greys later on. So we'll have it there. So you can do big areas. And again, it might look weird right now, but it'll come together later. So I'll just do a bit more on the edge there. And I'll do some little scratches. And it might be when you do chipping that you're doing the chipping and it doesn't really gel. None of it really makes any sense. It's all kind of like different. You're thinking there's lots of different things and none of it really works. But then you do a big area like this that becomes a focal point for the eye. And when that happens, a bit like when you add the grey, it distracts the eye from the other areas. And that's where it all starts to gel then, because suddenly your eye is drawn to that and the other bits just become peripheral. And your brain just goes, yeah, the paint chips, they make sense. Well, we can live with that. So sometimes it won't come together till you do a big bit like that. And then your eye goes, okay, I get it now. It makes sense. Your brain accepts it. Now this isn't anywhere near as subtle as if you use chipping fluids, for example. Chipping fluids would in fact give you a very convincing chipping effect, but it would be a whole different chipping effect. And this is a very, very stylized Space Marine, so it makes sense to do a very, very stylized paint job. And keeping in mind, of course, when you're doing things like tabletop stuff, anything like this, you are doing models that are going to be viewed from several feet away normally. So a lot of it is a kind of visual shorthand. And there's nothing wrong with that. I actually really like it. It's kind of a visual shorthand that you're using. And there's nothing stopping you make these things look super realistic. But being brutally honest, if you're going to play it on a tabletop, it's going to last about 5 minutes. There's a certain point at which it's just not worth the effort. If you're going to play it on the tabletop. If you're doing it just for display, then absolutely. Knock yourself out. Nice little scratch on the back there. And what we'll do is we'll leave this bit here kind of untouched. Why not? We'll do a few little spots and spats on the sides. I'm not going to go too crazy. Because when you get these big open areas, that it starts to become a struggle, because you're kind of struggling for somewhere. Like this, you've got an edge where the paint can chip away. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. But it's a big flat open area. You're like, well, where is the wear and tear? How does this get worn? We'll do something about that later, maybe. Try and have some scratches crossing over as well. That always kind of looks kind of cool. It makes it a bit more interesting. Sometimes you don't want to do big fat strokes like that too much, because they do just look like big fat brush strokes. But every now and then you can do. Try and emphasize that one that we did earlier on here a bit more. But yeah, making a scratch out of dots can be interesting. Let's do one here, like this, if it will show up. You're just doing separated out dots in a straight line, really. And it just looks like something's gone ding, 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 ding across the surface, rather than something just consistently scratching it. But yeah, go and look at things. Let's say if you do play video games, Borderlands 4, Fallout 4, Destiny, some of the shaders, and even Borderlands and stuff. There's some nice weathering effects in there. So there we go. That's going to do it for the head. It looks a bit weird now, and it does to you because from your point of view, this yellow is quite pale, and the pale yellow is almost white from your point of view. But in reality, it's not. But the other thing you'll find as well is that when you add these light colours, before where you had the darker yellow to the lighter yellow, now you've got this real light highlight. The light yellow we're adding now stays the same colour, but behind it you've got the variation between the brown yellow and the yellow and the golden yellow, and all the colours are behind these chips are changing, but the chips themselves are staying the same colour, and that's kind of the awesome thing. That's what makes it awesome. It really starts to have a nice effect. I'm going to do big flat thing there. See, when I said I wasn't too fussed about the way the inks were splodging out when I painted that face, because we're doing big chips. Now I will have to go back over some of these yellow ones with red, because obviously I'm painting over a red thing with yellow paint, which doesn't really make too much sense. So what I will do is I'll go over some of these yellow chips with the pink later on, because that'll suggest where the red paint's chipped away, but it's left some of the clean, unexposed red paint underneath. And for the black, I might do a little bit of grey. So I'll be going over the yellow chips. But this is, at the minute, just suggesting that the red and black paint's come off and it's exposed the yellow underneath, which is clean. So, that's that there. What time are we on? We're on 4:30. 4:04. I shall put his little head over to one side over here. I shall activate the enormous coffee of happiness for a quick swig of tune. Is this? Well, let me zoom out again because I'm zoomed in. Zooming out again. There, we're zoomed out now. Yes, zoomed out correctly. Stay up, silly boy. I'll put that brush there out of the way. I'm going to have a big swig-taculon of the enormous coffee. Lynn Dipple says, There used to be... Who was it? There used to be one of my followers. I don't think I've seen him for a while. I can't remember who it was now. One of my followers used to ask me to slurp my coffee all the time. Who was that? I can't remember who it was. I've forgotten. It's been a while since we've seen him in chat. One of my followers used to ask me to slurp the coffee. I've just remembered. Let's have a quick look at the chat. More chipping, says Demon Killer. The case is big, but I'm worried about the size of the shelf I'll need. Oh, that's for the USS Enterprise. Wet pallets of the bomb, says Demon Killer. When all else fails, more chipping, says Eric Graham. James Nelthorpe says, never chuck a brush unless it has no bristles. Yet, see all these brushes in here? These are all old brushes that are no longer fit for purpose other than dry brushing. Because some of these are just, they're absolutely fine. They're dry brushes anyway. This is my scruffy dry brushing cup. All these are used for things like dry brushing. Some of them I use for shades when I've got to do, like if I had to shade an Imperial Knight, I'd use the big ass shade brush. Some of them are really nice quality brushes. They're just designed for like dry brushing and stuff. So these aren't knackered. These are really nice brushes. It's a Dalo Rowney Graduate. Actually, that's about 15 to 20 quid with the brush, but it's in my scruffy dry brushing set because that's what they're perfect for. And some of them are old base brushes. These old round tipped or sometimes pointed tip base brushes from GW, they're brilliant as dry brushes. Once they get a bit knackered and floofy, they're fine. We've got some of the Army Painter dry brushes. I also have things like the Army Painter, the Wargamer detail brush. For some reason, this one just didn't hold its point. At the moment I used it, it went like that. So I've not thrown it away. It's still got its uses, especially for things like, see that one now, if I wet it, it does get a bit of a point, but it splays out too easily. So I find this perfect now. If I need to do a glaze or a shade in a small area, like if I want to do a recess shade or a glaze on something small, like a lens or a target rangefinder on a weapon or something, just use that. It's great because it's got a reasonable amount of reservoir in it. It'll be a bit round around the edge. It won't be pointy, and it's perfect for things like that. So don't throw all brushes away. And even when the brush gets so bad you can't use it for anything else, I don't know why that's in there because that's a proper. It's called a rigger, but it's a proper outlining brush. But you could use that for doing rat rod flames and things. But yeah, even when it gets really old and really knackered, you can just go ahead and if it's a reasonably rigid brush, just snip it down to almost stumps, and then it's great for stippling. So don't throw your old brushes away. I've got tons of them. That's all my scruffy brushes. These are all my nice brushes. And I know these are nice brushes because they have a bit of tape on the end. This is how I know my nice brushes, because they have tape on the end. Apart from that one, which doesn't for some reason. Yeah, so all the nice ones have tape on the end and plastic tubes. Always with the plastic tubes. If they've got plastic tubes. All these ones, yeah, they go that way up. They go bristles up because I don't care about them anymore. They're fine. I don't worry about them now. Right, what have we got next? Next we have, let's have a look. Danny Sharple says, good evening, folks. Welcome, Danny. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ended up buying some of that brush cleaner soap stuff. Awesome. It's very, very good. Bristleless brushes are sculpting tools. I'll tell you what I use bristleless brushes for. If I can find one. That's a bristleless brush. Or at least it was knackered, so I snipped all the bristles off. But you know what it's good for? What you do is, especially if you've got a wheel or a device, something that you need to mount on a stick, you mount it on a, especially if it's got a hole in it. Like if I've got a big chunk of something with a hole in the middle, I can mount it on there, like a wheel or the leg of a gunpla where there's a hole in the middle, and then this bit is sharp and that can jam into my block of foam, and I've just mounted something and it's sticking up in the air now. Perfect for when you're spraying big things like wheels and stuff, or big thruster bells that have got a hole in the end. You just jam it on so it stays in place, jam the pointy end into the foam, and there you go. It's a good mounting stick. It turned up yesterday, actually, says Danny. Yes, if you've got the Master's brush up, it's very nice. There is a video on my channel how to do it, how to use it. If you go to my channel, if you've not seen it, if you go to my channel main page, click on playlists, and it's the how-to. There's a playlist. Everything on my channel is in a playlist. Before we go anywhere, there's a playlist called how-to, and I think it's how to clean your brushes or maintain your brushes with Master's brush soap, something like that. I would say basically use that at the end of every day painting, and you'll keep your brushes in tip-top condition. Eric Graham says, whoever decided to transfer Citadel paints into AK Interactive dripper bottles, brilliant. How did you transfer the paint? Slowly. If you ever want to do that, because when I painted this guy, I don't know if I can reach these now. I have here if I can get them without knocking the microphone. I have it in my hand, 2 dropper bottles. These cost £1 for 10 from Hobbycraft, but all I did was, these are actually designed for airbrushing, so these are actually thinned with airbrush thinner. So I can't use these on a wet palette. But the way I found to, I'm going to move these out of the way before I knock them over and spill them everywhere. Hang on, give me a second. Microphone's in just the wrong place. The easiest way to do it is to get yourself, sorry, knocking the microphone, get yourself some disposable plastic or paper cups. Get all the paint from the pot, pour it into the plastic or paper cup. Make sure it's not porous. If it's like a paper cup, make sure it's like wax line or something. Pour all the paint from the pot into the cup, and then add your thinning medium of choice. If you want to be able to use a wet palette and just use them as normal, you have to thin them with water. You can't thin them with airbrush thinners, acrylic paint thinners, nothing like that, because they're all alcohol based or spirit based, and that's not going to work on your wet palette. If you want to use a wet palette, make sure you thin them with just water. Just add water to them a little bit. You don't need a lot, just enough that they will then drip out of the bottle. If you're going to use them in an airbrush, then those ones I did, I just literally got all the paint from the pot into a cup. I just added drops of Ultimate Modelling Products airbrush thinner until they were as thin as skimmed milk, and then transferred them to a dropper bottle. But yeah, Hobbycraft sell them like packs of 10 for like £1, £1 or £2. You just get a couple of packs of those. But yes, if you want to continue to use your wet palette, you can thin them with stuff, but you might find they behave differently on the wet palette, because the whole point of a wet palette is to keep your paints moist. And if you're adding water to an alcohol thinned paint, it's not going to behave the same. So that's why I can't use Tamiya paints or Vallejo metal colours or anything like that on my wet palette, because they don't work right. But Dad says he added a drop of distilled water and added a stirring bowl, shook the bejeebers out of it and poured it in. Job done. Yep. And he says, why distilled water? It doesn't really matter. The reason basically distilled water is water with everything that isn't water taken out of it. So all the minerals and other stuff that we drink water. I found this out the other day listening to the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, but we can drink distilled water, but it will harm us eventually, because it's basically all the minerals and chemicals that we need, that we when we drink water, that we get out of the water when we drink it, they're all just removed, and it's just H2O. It's just hydrogen dioxide. It's just oxygen, hydrogen, bang. That's all that's in distilled water. You can use tap water if it's a bit purer and clearer if you're mixing it with paints. It just means you're not adding any contaminants to the paints that might affect how it dries or cures or anything like that. But it's not ultimately important. If you've got distilled water, you use that. If you haven't got it, you can just use tap water. It doesn't matter. Lynn says, I like this pop-out chat. I can minimise the show and just have the chat. Got the show on the big telly, yes. When I watch Chris's stream at 8 PM tonight on Chris Gross Models channel, I have the stream playing full screen, but I have the chat popped over the top. Dad says he used distilled because it's just what he had to hand in a bottle on the bench. Yeah, it makes no difference. I mean, it's probably slightly advantageous to add distilled water because it is purified, so you're not adding any contaminants in. If you were using an airbrush, you use distilled water. If you say you're using water thinned paints in an airbrush, you might prefer to use distilled water because there's no risk of anything building up in the airbrush over time. And it take a long time, but all the minerals and stuff, all the natural stuff that's in water, that technically could be deposited as the water dries out in the airbrush and get deposited on the needle and the nozzle and stuff. Distilled water is just H2O. So it's not going to deposit any stuff. But then again, you're putting a paint through an airbrush. So I think a lot of people get quite specific saying you have to use it. You don't. You just use tap water. It's better, but you don't have to. Looks like Streamlabs refreshes the overlays every 2 hours, says Mordracker. Why? What happened? What happened? What did it do? Did it do something? Tell me. I need to know. Tell me in words. Yeah, Demon Killer says the same thing. It's just tap water's got loads of contaminants. However, you don't drink distilled water because it can do you harm because you're getting nothing out of it. Oops, chat jumped. My apologies. Lynn says, I keep saying hopefully during the winter I'll have my bench built, but it's hard for me to save up monies. Just take your time. If you haven't got a bench, as long as you've got a table, you've got somewhere you can play. Beck Storm is in. Just got finally back home after 2 hours of lugging an all-in-one printer I bought. Oh, God. I remember many, many years ago when I was a young shaver of a lad. You just reminded me. This is back in the early 90s when I was still doing music and playing synthesizer and stuff. I'd had a little sort of home recording setup with various synthesizers and recording equipment and studio equipment. I found a place about a mile from where I live that sold audio video equipment to professionals, like, you know, professional cameramen. They sold cables and equipment and stuff to people that did like broadcast camera work, and they were proper like for that kind of industry, like audio and video. But I went in there just to see what they did, to see if they could do me some cables, and they had, for some reason, an old vintage late 70s tape-based delay unit. And if you don't know what that is, on modern music, you'll have a little thing where you can add an echo to a piece of music, to a tune. If you're playing something, you can add a delay. A delay is just an echo. Like if you go like that, it will go. It'll go. That's a delay. It's a delay echo. Reverberation is like an echo, and an echo is. So it had one of them. And in the old days, before it was electronic, it used to have a loop of tape, and you'd have the signal going in from your guitar or whatever it was you're playing. And depending how fast the tape went round in this loop, the signal would come in, go on the tape, go round and go back over the playback head. So it would, like, you'd say bleh, and it would go bleh, 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 and it'd go round and round. But because it's tape and it's recording as it's playing, it would kind of fade away in quality. So if you ever listen to ELO's Out of the Blue album, or even things like Time, ELO's Time, there's a few bits on there where they use a tape delay. You can tell it because the sound of the delay changes over the second or two. Every repeat is a little less bassy, a little more high rate. And it had one. I think it was like 50 quid. And this thing was vintage even, you know, this was early 90s and this thing was late 70s. Oh, I love that. I can find a use for that. And that was a real great idea because I thought I can play with that. The problem was, because it was 1970s technology, it was the size of, how big was it? It was maybe the size of a rucksack. You know, maybe the size of an average rucksack. But it weighed as much as a car. And I didn't have a car and I couldn't drive, so I had to walk it was about a mile and a half. It doesn't sound a lot, but I had to walk a mile and a half with this big black massive box that weighed as much as a car, and all it had was a little sort of plasticky leathery handle on the top that came up about that much from the top of it. It was all in a box, proper flight case thing. It was like the flat surface, and the handle was like that. You put your hand under that, and it was like about that tall off the surface. So you had very little space. It was dead tight, and it weighed oh god, that was a night. Somehow I got it home, and then I got it home. I used it once, and then never used it again. And then I kind of sold it in the end. I was like, oh, all of that, I don't know. So yes, I know all about carrying heavy things for miles. Eric Graham says, look like that angry marine. Looks like he needs a brush guard on his helmet like you see in front of trucks. Yeah, I think it's more just he does a few headbutts here and there. He gets a bit carried away. I know you're sleepy, but just stay there. Stay. I would have loved to have done a proper, like, all the paint's been just seared away in combat over time, and it's just all pale yellow here. But I think that would have looked a bit too... It could be realistic, but it would look a bit too weird. So again, it's one of those step back a little bit jobs. Check eBay for those dropper bottles. AKs are expensive for what they are. You can only get 50 on the eBay for the same price as 4 from Ammo. Yeah, if you're buying little dropper bottles and stuff, don't buy brand ones. Just go to eBay or a craft shop, and you can buy packs of tens and tens of them for very little. Don't buy branded ones because they're just over the top. Beck Storm says, I'm tired, big cup of tea now. Yes. Beck, have a seat and take a rest. Job well done. Chat jumped again. Fox's streams are enjoyable, says Ian Scott. Thank you very much. James Nelthorpe says, first time I've caught your stream and I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. We've got a while to go yet. Don't go anywhere. We've got stickers to give away yet. I must admit, I've done more work in this week's and last week's streams than I have done in the last 6 months. A lot of this is just me waffling nonsense. Danny's on about the magic liquid you pimped this week, Fox. It comes from the States. What? Magic liquid? What? Oh, you mean the brush? Oh, sorry, yes. Talking about brush cleaner. He meant not the this stuff. Danny's not talking about this. He's talking about the Winsor & Newton brush cleaning liquid. The one that it's on Dr. Faust Painting Clinic channel. He talks about it. He describes it as the 3 Mile Island paint cleaning fluid. If this stuff isn't working, I think it's Winsor & Newton. I've put it into my Amazon store. There's a link in the description of the video for my Amazon store. Go into there. It's in there. This is your daily wash. This is your shampoo for your beautiful tresses and locks of your brushes. So use this every day when you paint to keep your brushes looking awesome. However, if your brush is just flocked, like there's metallic paint there at the bottom of the brush, there is just silver. If your brush is that kind of state, nothing's going to shift that. This liquid apparently will just remove paint from everything. So much it'll take the paint off your brush and everything. So yes, it's that one. It's Winsor & Newton something or other. Brush cleaner, something like that. I must get some myself actually. It's in my Amazon store. It's the kind of thing where you might use it once in a blue moon. Or if you've used a metallic paint and you can't get the fleck out of the bottom of the brush. And for really, really knackered brushes, it really is like the nuclear option. So yes, it's in the store. If one of my mods could be an absolute darling and go to my Amazon store and find in fact, don't do that. Don't do that. I shall do it myself because I can give you a very specific link. One moment, I shall do it. Look at me doing this now. Let me 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Don't go nowhere, no nothing neither. I shall put a link in for you now. If you are... Oops, hang on. Nearly there. Can't see. There we go. Right. I shall put it in the chat for you. In the chat. There. That's it. That's the stuff. Now, if you're outside the UK... using that link won't benefit me in any way, shape or form. But if you're inside the UK, use that link. It helps support this channel quite a lot. So go for that. But yeah, that's the stuff. It's supposed to be like the nuclear option. It's really, really good. Bloody hell, I just got home from work and somebody's turned Fox into a Smurf, says Dave at Butch That Model. Welcome, Dave. Yeah. Blue hands. What's that secret you're keeping? Dad's also posted a link to how to maintain your brushes. Thank you very much, Dad. I assume that's my video. If you want to know, that's the one for using the Masters brush cleaner. ELO, one of the few bands I wanted to see live and never got a chance to. I love ELO. I grew up with ELO because my mum and dad used to listen to them, so I love ELO anyway. But very limited. I don't like some of the early stuff. I love Out of the Blue. I love Time. That's kind of it. That's the 2 albums I listen to religiously. The rest of them, Beck Storm says, been through that when I had to walk all the way home carrying a Sharp VZ2000. Yes. Snowman says, haven't played Destiny in 3 hours. Think I'm ill. I've hit power level 904 now. So I've got to the 900 cap. Yes. Vex Offensive is very silly fun. It's dead simple. Good fun. It's a good way to grind and power up. But you keep getting the same weapons over and over again. It's very frustrating. But I'm just figuring out how to get the hang of barrier weapons and overload weapons. It's really frustrating, right? Because if you play Destiny, you'll know I've got a submachine gun as my secondary weapon with barrier. It's got the barrier thing, so it breaks through enemy shields. So barrier enemies, it helps take them down where normal weapons won't. And then for my primary, I have to have an auto rifle, because all you need for the Vex Offensive is an SMG or an auto rifle. You don't need a sniper rifle. You don't need a scoped weapon. You need a rocket launcher or a heavy weapon of some sort, but you just need a close quarters spew bullets out. So I've got an SMG with the barrier, and I was hoping to get my primary weapon then get something that I can have overload, because you get overload enemies and you get barrier enemies and you get generic enemies. And I want to switch between the two. So I wanted one primary and one secondary, one for overload and one for barrier, because you can't go into a menu and swap around in the middle of combat. But if you just got one of each weapon, like 2 SMGs or 2 auto rifles. But bugger me, every time I get a weapon that I can apply that mod to, because it's got to be an SMG or an auto rifle that I can apply the overload mod to, it's a secondary weapon. It's like, oh, stop giving me a secondary. Oh, just give me a primary auto rifle for the love of baby jeebus. Oh, it's not playing ball with me. The RNGesus is not playing ball. Every time I get a primary weapon, it's a scout rifle. I can't apply the mod to that. Or it's a bloody hand cannon. I can't apply the mod to that. It's like, oh, come on. Give me an auto rifle in the primary slot. I even went back into my collection to see if I could rebuy or regenerate an auto rifle in the primary slot that I could apply the mod to, and I can, but none of them have that extra mod slot. And I'm like, oh. So, yeah. It's quite frustrating at the minute. Good fun, though. I've got the real sniffles. I do apologise today. Is that what we're talking about? Winsor Newton brush cleaner and restorer 4-ounce bottle? Yes, and I put the link in there. Start placing the bets. He's pushing buttons. No, I was literally opening up Chrome, which I think I forgot to. Did I close it? I was literally. Let me close the chat down. Let me see that. When I put a link in my chat, when I did that, I was literally opening Chrome, going to my Amazon store, finding the product, copying the link, pasting it into chat. Yeah, I don't have buttons like Chris. Space Hamster is in. Welcome, Space Hamster. Let's have a look. Would it be better to get the 4-ounce bottle or the 32-ounce bottle? I'd say go with the 4-ounce. It's going to like, you don't need to use, I wouldn't use it on a daily basis. You just want to use it when you've got a brush that's got real caked in paint, or when you've used a really intense paint like a bright red or a metallic, where you especially reds and bright blues and sometimes bright yellows, you find paint coming out for ages. So you don't need to use it on a daily basis. It might be like you use the Masters brush cleaner every day, and then maybe once a month you might do a quick swizz round with the brush cleaner with the Winsor & Newton stuff. But you won't use that much. I mean, put it this way. This is a bottle of isopropyl alcohol. I've refilled it once in about 6 months. And I probably use that more than I would that brush cleaner. But go, if you can afford the 32-ounce, go for that. It'll last you for years. There's no harm in having more than you need. So, random question to get Fox to something to talk about. What is your favourite band or type of music? Favourite band? If I had to say band, I would say ELO. Type of music? That's more tricky, because for me personally, I like, I'm not really into songs with singing and lyrics and stuff, although I like ELO. I don't really do songs. I like soundtracks, but I don't mean the really crappy, here's a soundtrack album, but it's just 10 different songs by 6 different artists, and it's all rap or whatever, blues and stuff. It's like, no, I don't mean like, I don't mean when they get like a single from this. I don't mean that. I mean like where the composer's gone and they've hired an orchestra and they've written a whole soundtrack to a movie or to a game. It doesn't have to be orchestral, but soundtracks, because a soundtrack has a specific story behind it. And soundtracks often use the best elements of classical style writing. So they'll use lots of hooks. They'll use the sort of leader una verta kind of effect of, or the what's the word? I've forgotten the word. I can't remember anyway. They like hooks and very obvious little themes and things. So soundtracks for me are the big thing. I love them. Because they're always, the ones I like to listen to are always very well written. They're not always orchestral, but they're very deep, and I can imagine the story. I'm not being told the story in the lyrics. Songs just bore me. So I don't really have a favourite band other than ELO, because I grew up with them. And in terms of type of music, just interesting soundtracks, but also, oddly, library music. Like TV and audio, TV production, library music. Just purely because it follows the same principle as soundtracks. It's just in one single tune. And they're always kind of like specific things, like The Hero Returns or the Amazing Quest. I think they're all like, they have a specific feel to them, and it plays into the same vibe. In terms of soundtracks, my favourite soundtracks would be, let's have a think. My all-time favourite soundtrack would be the soundtrack from Medal of Honor Frontline by Michael Giacchino. That's an awesome soundtrack. If you've never heard it, that's an awesome orchestral soundtrack. Brilliant. Danny Elfman's original 1989 Batman soundtrack's really good. I love the soundtracks to the Star Trek Deep Space Nine pilot episode. That's a soundtrack you can buy. And the same for Voyager, the soundtrack for that pilot episode. Those two are really good albums. There's a load of other Star Trek Next Gen and DS9 and Voyager soundtracks out there, but they're all terrible. Trust me. It's just the pilot episode of DS9. That's a good soundtrack. I've got tons and tons of library music. I don't know, it's just kind of eclectic, but I kind of like sort of stuff that's designed for movies and television and film and stuff. It's just because it's that particular way of... what's the thing? I'm looking for a particular phrase that refers to having a theme for different things. I can't think what it is. John Williams kind of style. It's that, you know what I mean. Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park movie. That's an excellent soundtrack. Helicopter Ride, where they go from wherever they are to the island for the first time. That whole piece is fantastic. Just listen to that very loud. It's called Journey to the Island or Helicopter Ride or something. And I didn't know this, but there's a bit of a lampshade hanging in Jurassic Park. I never noticed this, but go watch the bit where they're in the helicopter journeying to the island, and watch how Dr. whatever his name is, Alan, whatever he's called, Sam Neill, he's trying to do his seatbelt and he can't get his seatbelt to go. If you look carefully, you notice that he's actually trying to lock two female parts of a seatbelt together. Because he's not got the male part and the female part like that. He's got two female parts that don't go together. And that's completely foreshadowing the whole premise of the idea that the dinosaurs can't breed because they're designed to be non-reproducible. But of course, life finds a way. And he finds a way by getting the two bits that won't breed, and he just ties them in a knot. And he gets a seatbelt. And it's a complete foreshadowing the whole rest of the movie in that one little tiny throwaway scene that you won't have even noticed or registered. He's trying to tie the seatbelt. It won't work because it's the two female bits. He just ties a knot. In the same way the Russians didn't invent a space pen, they just used a pencil. The dinosaurs can't breed, but life will find a way. And I found that, I read that and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I never figured that before. I never noticed that. But yeah, that whole piece of music for the Journey to the Island is incredible. It goes through a leitmotif. That's it, leitmotif. It goes through about 8 different leitmotifs for the island, for the helicopter. Brilliant, brilliant soundtrack. Fantastic soundtrack. Where are we up to? But bands and songs, no interest at all. Modern music, modern bands, just absolute trash. Just really couldn't care for anything. Not interested at all. Drivel. Beck Storm says, I started playing Destiny 2 the week. I'm completely lost as to where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do. Okay, Beck Storm, anybody who's not played Destiny 2, who now gets it for free and doesn't know what the flock to do. First of all, I'd recommend you go and get Destiny 1 and play that. You don't have to, but if you want to know it, start again, completely. The first mission you do before you get to the tower was actually the first opening mission of Destiny 1. So you play that. That's where your ghost resurrects you and makes you a guardian. Then it completely misses out the rest of Destiny 1 and the entire campaign of Destiny 2 and says, right, you're back at the tower now. That's just for continuity purposes. It kind of makes sense. What you need to do is do the first mission where your ghost says, I'm your ghost now, let's get away from the Fallen. You're running through, you're in the Cosmodrome. Don't really pay attention to that too much. It'll tell you some things, but you can kind of ignore most of it. Get to the tower. And then before you do anything else, because you'll have a million different things to look at and you won't know what the hell anything is, go to Holiday, if you look on the map, on the right-hand side, there's a spaceship on its own, little symbol of a spaceship. That's Holiday. She's normally the person that gives you your first sparrow and your first ship. Because in Destiny 2, you don't start with a ship. Go to her, and through her, she'll have some options for the Red War, which is the original Destiny 2 campaign. And also then all the expansions. So Warmind, the Curse of Osiris, and the other one, his name I can't remember. So go to her. Before you do anything else, do the Red War. That is the Destiny 2 campaign. It would be helpful to know the story of Destiny 1. And this is really bad on Bungie. They the game is now free. You can go and join it. But they don't expand. They dump you in the tower with no idea what anything is. They don't even explain how to use your supers and stuff, but you get them all at the start, even though you shouldn't in the first game. But if you do the Red War, at least you'll then have a concept of what the hell is going on. Because I don't know how it will. I've not tried it myself, but it should theoretically start you so you can learn all your powers. But it might actually start you with all your powers. I don't know, but it might explain some stuff. But I would recommend that. Ideally, I would say go to your local game store and get a second-hand copy of Destiny 1, which should be, you'd probably get them for £5, and get that and play through that first. It is a bit different, but it will give you some footing for who you are, what your superpowers, what your supers are, what your abilities are and things. And they're very similar enough that you could probably get the hang of it. And it's still a good game, Destiny 1. It's still a very, very good game. The fact that you've not paid for Destiny 2 doesn't really matter if you then go and play Destiny 1 for a bit. But if you need to, start the campaign again, do the first bit, get to tower, and then go and speak to Amanda Holiday and just do the Red War campaign. That's the entire storyline campaign of Destiny 2. They don't tell you that. Bungie don't mention that anywhere. Even I had to go and look up what if I want to do the Red War campaign. Oh, you go to Holiday. Okay. That'd be handy to know if I was a brand new player. But yeah, jumping straight in, you're not going to know. It is really worth sticking with it though. So I would recommend go and get Destiny 1 or just go and play the Red War campaign. I'm in love with my bow, says Snowman HFC. That's a Destiny thing. And it jumped. Let's have a look. My son, David Butch, that model, says my son plays Destiny. He does rage a lot of the rest of us. So he's playing Dysentery again, or Density, I call it. Raging Bassist, what have I missed? Hello everyone. Hey Bassist, you've missed. I've done some chippage. I've done some head chippage. I've done the first stage of chipping on the head, and it takes forever. I should have done this during the week when you guys weren't here, but I was lazy and slacked. Clarky is in. Welcome, Clarky. Although I'm from the city that gave the music scene ska, this year is the 40th anniversary, I'm a more easy listening person, says Beyond Hope. Chipping and waffling, says Dave. Bassist, that's all you missed. Eric Graham says, country, new age, electronica, a little bit of everything, no favourite group or artist. Growing up, I was massively into Jean-Michel Jarre and Vangelis. And that's what influenced me on the getting synthesizers and writing my music. But then I started getting into orchestral soundtracks, and that kind of broke me out of the habit of writing electronica. And then I kind of lost the ability to write it, and then I kind of faded away from that. I still listen to Vangelis. Kevin's in. Kevin Reynolds. Easy now, lads. Kevin has arrived. Dad said he will be cleaning his brushes every day with Mephiston Red that he uses. Yes. How you doing, Si? David Butch, that model, says, if you ever meet She Who Farts in Bed, ask her about the first and only time she went to a Motorhead gig with me. Yeah, we know you like nonsense metal stuff. Beyond Hope offends me. I hate to tell you this, Beyond Hope. Beyond Hope says, Hans Zimmer for the win, especially the Da Vinci Code soundtrack. Hans Zimmer is a hack. I'm sorry. It's horrible, horrible, horrible wallpaper music. It's just, oh. The difference between Destiny and Destiny 2 soundtracks is that Marty O'Donnell wrote the Destiny soundtrack, and it's a beautiful thing, and I listen to it every day. I've got it on my playlist. The Destiny 2 soundtrack and the soundtracks that came after when he'd gone are just wallpaper music, just walls of sound, and Hans Zimmer's the same. It's just, there's nothing there. It's not to my taste, let's put it that way. It's not. It's just like, it's too flat and lifeless. It doesn't work for me at all. I find Hans Zimmer very overrated. But that's just me. Kevin Reynolds says, I live by Winsor & Newton Series 7 or broken toed brushes. Raging Bassist says, like Hans Zimmer or Bear McCreary. Don't know who Bear McCreary is. Kev says, the Battlestar Galactica soundtrack is stunning. Not heard it. I've watched the series. I just don't remember the soundtrack. Beck Storm says, I hardly listen to any music with lyrics either. Don't want to bother hearing people singing. Prefer letting the music itself tell me the story. Yes, exactly. I'd rather the music tell me the story. It's gone dark outside. Holy cow. I think we're in for a storm. Yes, I'd rather the music create a story in my mind than the lyrics just being... I mean, the thing, at the end of the day, nowadays, look at some of the lyrics are always like, whoa, 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 baby, baby, whoa, yeah. That's so interesting. That's just so interesting for my brain. Whoa, 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 baby, baby, whoa, yeah, who, yeah, baby, baby, whoa, 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 yeah. I'm sorry, what am I listening to that again? Nonsense. Making me rant again, aren't you? Getting me to a rant corner. So what you're saying is elevator music, Fox, says Gaz Vickers. Yeah, pretty much. Let's have a look. Dave says, Gaz Fox has the Hammond organ Lift Music 100 classic lift tunes to get down to. No, but I do have quite a lot of the KPM audio library, which you can't actually buy. Well, you can buy the CDs now individually, but many years ago, when the internet was very early and companies didn't understand things, the KPM is a massive company. I think they're now owned by Sony, and they basically license out thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of pieces of music for production, video and film. And they go back as far as, people like Keith Mansfield, who wrote things like Grandstand and the Granada Close Down theme. They go back to the 60s and 70s, all the tunes that you'll have heard on TV and film over the years. And they had this massive library, but they had this system where you could listen to it, to preview it before you purchased it, because you purchased the track to then use it in your video production. And the thing is, you purchase a track to use, you're paying hundreds of pounds for a piece of music. I mean, that's how this licensing works. But they had a thing where nowadays you listen to it and it plays you like the first 30 seconds. In those days, you could listen to the whole thing. Not at full quality, it was maybe mono and it was a bit low res, but it was like, you know what? So I just listened to it and recorded it into my PC. Which is probably not very good, but I don't want to sell it. I have it for myself. It's my own collection of library music. And in those days, it really was start my computer record, got my, whatever it was, SoundForge at the time, I think. Press record, then play the music, and it just records the audio on the desktop. And there you go, I've got a piece of library music. Because I wasn't going to... It's production. I'm not using it in a video production. I never would use it. It's just for me to listen to for fun. So, but you can actually buy a lot of the CDs now. But that was in the old days when they didn't understand things like that. The old days of the internet. I'm going to jump a bit because I'm going to be here all day, but I need to do stickery giveaways. It would be good to get to Destiny 1 if they ever port it to PC, says Mordraka. Oh, okay, you're on PC? Yeah, they won't. You can play it on Xbox 360 if you're desperate and don't want to spend a fortune. You can get a 360 for like $30 or $40 now, 30, 40 quid. But I would recommend it. If you've got a console, just get Destiny 1. Candygram from Mongo says... The Russian pencil... Oh no, Grace Model says the Russian pencil story is fake though. They both tried pencils, but graphite could get into electronics and cause loads of trouble. I know it's a fake story. It's a good frame of reference. I love my Fisher Space pen. Dad says Muse. Is Muse in? Do we have Muse? Apologies, I hadn't noticed. Gaz, rumour was based on Fox. Okay. Beckstorm says, cheers for the Destiny guide. I'll get used to it eventually. It's been through Warframe since closed beta, which was way more confusing. I won't even start on talking about Warframe. I'll be here for hours. But yeah, if you can't play Destiny 1 at all, and I do recommend it, it's even worth just buying a knackered old PlayStation 3 or 360 just for a few bucks, just to play it. It won't be very good, and you won't get a lot of the DLCs, but you might. But yeah, if not, just go and play the Red War. Go to Holiday and play the Red War. Cynical Steve says, music-wise, I will listen to anything except country and western, the Beatles, Michael Bublé and Kate Malua, because they're all crap. You can say crap. You're allowed to swear in the chat, by the way. Also, crap isn't swearing. I'm more into metal, says Nim. Sabaton is one of my favourites, so is Falconer and TYR. I just have no interest in metal. It's just noise. It's like people that like death metal. I know one guy that's into death metal, and he's like, listen to this, and I'm like, that's the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Best soundtrack was Tron Legacy. Never watched it. I don't just like metal, Fox. They look a bit of classic punk, Sex Pistols for the win. Yeah, it's not I don't do songs. It's all just noise to me. I was an old man when I was a young kid. I was never really into music until I heard, until the one day somebody at school was playing Jean-Michel Jarre's Rendezvous on their boombox, and I was like, what's that? I need to know all about that. It was amazing. Anyway, we have some new sticker time. We have some new stickers, which I'll reveal in a moment. But I need to write the words on the back of the stickers. Let's read the words. Is it worth a buy? I love that channel. Is it worth a buy? He reviews games, but I love the guy, the way he does it. Let's read the words on the back of the box. The words. Ding. Anyway, sorry, sidetrack there. Yes, let's stick some words on here. Before I do that, I'm getting the fumes off the pen there. We're going to do the sticker giveaways. He didn't forget this week, says Nim. But before we do that, I'm going to go off the person commenting in the chat. So we need to make sure there's no lag between what you guys are seeing and what you guys are typing in chat. There's always a lag between what you can see here on here now and the chat itself. So before you do anything, I want you to hit the refresh button on your browser, and then I want you to drag the slider when it's refreshes all the way to the right. So that's a refresh and drag, refresh and drag, and that'll just mean you're up to date then, so you've got the minimal lag between your chat and your video, because we're going to go off the fastest finger for these. Right, so let's put some words on here. We're going to do I'm going to make them follow on. Fat, blimpy, badassitude. Fat, blimpy, badassitude. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a good phrase. If something had fat, blimpy, badassitude, I think Mr. Torg would like that. So there we go. Those are the 3 stickers today. Now, what are the stickers? Dad sent me these. We have 3 little stickers that Dad had made. Mephiston Red, Dad said. Like saying, why use Mephiston Red? I'm using Mephiston Red because Dad said to use Mephiston Red. Mephiston Red because Dad said. So there you go, 3. I've got a small clutch of these, so we'll do 3 today. Mephiston Red, Dad said. Stickers. So big swig of coffee. Oh, you know what? You know how I said it had gone dark outside? It's kind of got orange now. That's weird. Because I've got the window open and I can hear the wind. It's really nice, and I can feel a cool breeze coming in, which is quite nice with all these lights on. But I looked at the window, everything's orange now. I don't know what's going on with the weather. We might be about to die in an apocalypse or something. He hasn't left any space for a squig. Allow me to get my Canadian pen, which goes with my Canadian notebook. I can now draw a Canadian pen, squig, if I need to. Dad said, Mephiston Red, Dad said. Right, so anyway, so I've got to think of some questions now. Now, I can't use Chris's book of space questions that he sent me because I've used all the non-open-ended questions in that book. Like, I can't ask you, like, why do people go to space? That's not really a question I can ask for somebody to get the right answer. So I've got to pull questions out my hand. Now, somebody did send me, actually, no, I'll tell you a lie. I was sent some questions. Let me get my email up. Where? Oh, I've got gloves on and it can't read my fingerprints. God damn it. Hang on. God damn you, Apple. Why can't you read fingerprints of people that have got gloves on? 1 second. There we go. Right, so emails. I do have some questiones. Except I'm in Ted's email for some bizarre reason. Right, so... Doop. Okay, so I do have a question. Everybody ready? Is everybody ready? Simple Fox because Apple. Yes. Dust Storm says Interzone. Yeah, everything's orange out. So it's weird. It's really weird. Post-apocalyptia. It's 3 Dog. Welcome to Post-apocalyptia. What up, children? Right. Everybody ready? Question number 1. Cashier number 4, please. Here's a question. It's a question from Nim. Nim sent this in about, about a week ago. Yeah, thanks, Nim. Here's a question from Nim. So, Nim, you can't answer this one. And I expect correct spelling on this. To keep things fair, I want it to be spelled correctly. I will not ask, just because I want it to be spelled correctly. Because you're all going to have to Google it anyway. So, incorrect spelling means an incorrect answer. Ready? Right. What language did the code talkers use during World War II? Go. What language did the code talkers use during World War II? I'm going to blow my nose again because, god damn it, it's like a leaky tap when the lights go on. I'm going to refresh my chat just to make sure I am fully up to date. And Osric 9000 is straight in with Navajo, and that is correct. Osric 9000, it is in fact Navajo. Says, Navajo, fun facts, the code was never broken and this wasn't the first time the US military used native speakers as code talkers. In World War I, the Cherokee, like the Jeep model, and the Choctaw were used, as well as a few others that weren't mentioned by name on the wiki. But yeah, Navajo was the language. So Osric 9000, well done. Thank you to you, Nim, for the questiones. Osric, well done. You've won yourself an sticker. Would you like Fat, Badassitude, or Blimpy? Which one would you like? I shall wait for your answer and do nothing until everybody please sit quietly and point at Osric till we get the right choice. Osric, which one would you like? Wow, that was an easy one, says Nim. Badassitude, please. You can more than certainly have that one. So it's Osric 9000. 9000! Yeah, that's his listing. Now remember, if you win a sticker today, I do have a big, well, not a big collection. I have a collection of stickers to go out. They're not done yet. I tend to build them up for about 3 or 4 months before I send them all out. I just do a big run to the post office. So if you have had stickers before that you've won, you've not received them in the last month or two, don't panic. They'll be in that bag waiting to go out. Even if you win one tonight though, and you're waiting for others and you've mailed me before, you need to mail me every time you win. My email address is always on screen, fox@modelmakingguru.com. Send me an email there and just let me know in the title you've won a sticker, and give me your name, your address and your YouTube name. So, for example, Osric would send me this one saying Osric 9000, because if I get a mail from Bob Smith, hi, it's Bob Smith, I want a sticker, I'll be going through my stickers like, I haven't got one with Bob Smith written on it, because that person's name might be XX Hardcore Sniper XXX Kill Lols for the win, which doesn't help me. So make sure you put your name, your YouTube handle if it's different to your name, and your address, and put in the title that you won a sticker. And even if you've sent one before, because if you've won 5 stickers, I need 5 emails from you saying you've won a sticker. So there you go. So well done, Osric. That's that one there. I shall put it in the bag of waiting to go. I can't spell, says Lynn. I can't spell, but that's because I misspell youth. Moving on. Right, next question. I've got to pull this out my ass now. Next question. Question time. I can't think of a question. Okay, right. Think of a question. Can't think of a question. Okay. No, that's not a very good question. Here we go. This might take a while to answer. I said earlier on that one of my favourite bands is ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra. The Electric Light Orchestra, ELO. And I said that one of my favourite albums from them was an album called Time. So the question is, what is my favourite song out of the album Time by ELO? Go. Which is my favourite song? You've only got about 8 to choose from. Whoever gets that right first will win a sticker. Which is my favourite song from that album? Do. No, not the name of the album, Lynn. The actual name of the track. Wrong album, guys. Clive. Wow. Nobody's got it yet. The one you like. I'm just going to double check I've got the name right in my head. Hang on. It's like I've only been listening to it for like 30 years, but... Yeah, I've got the right time. Just double checking myself because nobody said it yet. There's only like 9 tracks on the album. Or 9 or 10. Right, finally, Pascal gets it right with Here Is the News. Wow, that took ages. And I'm surprised that Thy Creator didn't just go each track one by one and list them off. Pascal, well done. It was, in fact, Here Is the News. My favourite track on the whole album. Although I have to say that Twilight is an awesome track. And it's apparently quite still used in some Japanese convention circuit. They use it as their opening the show theme, bizarrely. Some anime convention or something. And 21st Century Man is a really nice little sort of bit. That's a really good tune. But the whole album's brilliant. If you've never heard it, go and listen to it. Buy it with all your money. Just fantastic. But yeah, Here Is the News. So Pascal, well done. Which would you like? Would you like Fat or Blimpy? I did. It's not here, says Thy Creator. Weird. Blimp, please. No, Blimpy. You want Blimpy? So, Pascal, well done. Because at first you're thinking, how am I going to know what your favourite track is? It's like, we'll just go into Google, find the album, and look at the track list. One of them's going to be the right one. So, Pascal, well done. You've won yourself Mephiston Red. Dad said. So well done. Just send me an email, fox@modelmakingguru.com. It's always there on screen. You know what it is. You've mailed me enough times. Just say that you want a sticker, and I'll put that in the pile of the stickers. It can go into the happy bag of sending stuff. Edward Leonard. Blueprints. I was about to show the envelope on screen. It's got your address on it. I'm sending that out on Monday. I got sidetracked last week, and I was supposed to send it out last week for you, but I've not done it. It's going out on Monday. Going to the post office tomorrow, and I'll post it out to you. Blueprints and that, and stickers and that. Right, so we've got one left and we've got Fat. So I've got to do one more sticker. One more question. Got to think of the question. Don't listen to children. Save your pennies and get more Motorhead's Bummer LP. Don't buy Motorhead nonsense. It's middle-aged, pot-bellied old man nonsense. Go and get ELO's Time and Out of the Blue. The only 2 singy song albums you'll need in your life. Out of the Blue, Mr. Blue Sky, legendary track. Time, the whole album's fantastic. It's all you ever need. All you ever need. Right, so let's think of a question. Demon Killer says, useless fact, Mephiston Red is my favourite red paint from Still. Wazdaka Red, a close second. Dad now wants to marry you because you've just said that Mephiston Red is your favourite paint. I do agree, Mephiston Red is a beautiful paint. Beautiful paint. Right, so let's think of another question. Let's see if I can not have to write the number on the hand. I'm going to have to write the number on the hand out. Dad says, number time? Doodle-doodle-doodle-doo-doo. Something happened that made a noise. Somebody subscribed. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I cannot read Japanese, so I can't tell you who it was, but thank you very much for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Here's a question. What series did Fox say the soundtrack was brilliant from? Clue, he said it was only the first episode, the rest were... What? Oh, I got you. Well, I can't ask it now because you put it in chat, so everybody's going to start answering that. That's no good. Oh, go on then, actually. I can do it, yeah. Okay. So earlier on when we were talking about soundtracks, I said I had the soundtrack from a pilot episode from a series, and it was brilliant. What was it from? Go. And... Yep, Cynical Steve was straight in with DS9. Correct. I could have actually also accepted Voyager, but DS9's actually better. So Cynical Steve, well done. Cynical Steve. Awesome. You need to send me an email with your name, address, and your YouTube handle as well, because I know that's not your actual name. You know what I'm going to do? I broke that whole sentence, just broke in my brain. I'm going to do. It's still orange outside. I don't know what's going on. We'll do a Goblin Gaming sticker as well. Let's do a Goblin Gaming sticker. We'll do one more. So well done, Steve. Email, name, address, and that. You've won yourself Fat Red. We'll do one more. a Goblin Gaming sticker. Now remember, of course, like it said at the start, I need to do this because of sponsorship, but like I said at the start, this show is supported by Goblin Gaming. If you're in the EU or the UK, your one-stop shop for your tabletop gaming needs. 20% off Malifaux. Hang on, I've got this right. Games Workshop, Malifaux and Conflict 47. Everything is 20% off RRP. So you get massive savings. And it's massive savings on everything else they stock. Not just the models and the kits, but tools and other stuff as well. They also do card games and tabletop games. Go and check them out. There's a link in the description below the video. Use the link in there. Don't just go to Goblin Gaming's website. So ignore that website address, go to the link that's in the description below this video. That's my affiliate link. If you go there, not only do you get them big savings, it also tells them that you came from me and I get a little bit of commission from that. Whatever you order, I get a little bit of commission. Doesn't cost you any extra. Doesn't cost you anything at all. You'll actually make massive savings, but I get a little bit of kickback. So go and check them out. If you're in the EU or the UK, go and check them out. But, runny nose, sniffly nose time. But, let's do a Goblin Gaming sticker. Let's put the word tube. That's how a northern monkey like me says the word tube, is tube. If you give me a plastic tube, I'd be like, I've got a plastic tube. 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 I love the word tube. Tube. It's a great word. Tube. Tube. So, you do have some of mine still somewhere, says Chris at Gross Models. I think so. I'll have to check, but I think so. Die Creator, I'm getting older, I can't answer anything anymore. Yeah, you're on a snooze and lose today, aren't you, mate? You've missed everything. He actually says what to that question, but I think you weren't here. This is why it pays sometimes to watch the whole stream. Right, so let's do it. Lynn Dipple says, hi, Mama Fox.
Hello.
I don't know how she knew Mama Fox was there. Right, so let's have a look. Okay, right, so I'm going to write a number on the back of my hand. On a glove, so I don't have to make a mess. Let's think of a number. I just got the music from think of a number in my head now. Johnny Ball, what a leg end. I'm writing a number now. Okay. I have on the back of my hand written a number. It contains digits. And the number is between 599 and 6... No, let's start that again. Forget that. It is between... I can't give you a 100 number range of beer all night. It is between 619 and 629. Go. It's between 619 and 629. What is the number? Give me your number. What? Bloody hell. What is the magic number? I forgot what the number is then. There we go. There we go. So Thy Creator is back on form, going with the numbers really quickly. The number is 623. So Thy Creator. I'll add this to the enormous pile of stickers you've already got waiting to come out to you. Thy Creator. Well done. As always, by now you know very well what to do. You need to send me an email with your name, address, and your YouTube handle so I know which is yours. And just put a title on there saying, I've won a sticker again. And we'll get all these sent out to you. Now, I will be getting these sent out soon at some point. Again, I only tend to go to the post office once every few months. So I pile them all up. I tend to build up a big pile of stickers and then block them all out all in one go. Also, I've only got about 5 stamps. So I won't have to wait till I get some more stamps. So, yes. So I will do some sticker send-outs soon. But Edward Leonard, yes, I'll be sending out your blueprints on the Monday. So there we go. Everybody's still answering numbers. It's gone now. It's past now. You can stop writing numbers. No. It's not orange outside anymore. It's kind of blue now. Everything's gone blue. I think we just seem to be in the middle of not a storm, but some good artistic light-based art installation of some sort. I don't know what's going on. So we got chipping on there. That's the initial chipping done. Now what I might do, I've got to do the grey on. there. I only did the grey on the backpack to show you the grey on the backpack so you get an idea of it. I need to get everything else painted grey first. I also need to figure out what I'm doing with this base because all the primer's coming off. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get around that. I might need to sand this a bit and then mask off the figure and re-prime it. I don't know. We'll see. So I've got the base light yellow on here. I'll go around and get the light yellow done on the rest of the figure. And then I'll get the grey painted in. And I will try and do that before next week's show. Yes. It's orange here now. You sent it over. And Simon Reynolds said, could that have been that supposed asteroid passing Earth today, skimming the atmosphere, I wonder? No. It's a big UFO right over Fox's house asking for directions to Rendlesham Air Station. Yeah. What have we got? Half an hour. I'll do a bit more. Don't want to do any more on the head. I don't know. Or shall I leave it? I don't want to go too crazy with the chipping because I want him to look like he's been dragged through lots of hedges. Also, Dave, what's an air station? I just realised Rendlesham Air Station. It was like steampunk. This is the I shall take the Pantechnicon to the dirigible house air station. I like the sound of that. Leave it, says Lim Dipple. Just Waffle Fox for half an hour. Yes. I'll do a little bit more chipping then. Hang on. No. Just for half an hour. I need to get more tissue. Right, so where's my paint palette? I'll put my pens away. Chipping is... I do like chipping. Chipping is fun. It's tedious after a while, but as long as you've got something nice to listen to or in the background, like an audio book or it might be a podcast or something, it's always good fun. It's good fun to have something to listen to. As you well know, because I've said it before, I'm still working my way through the Skeptic's Guide. I'll zoom in a bit for you. Hang on. Zooming in. Hang on. Zooming in. Yes, I've said before, I'm working my way through the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe podcasts, which is fantastic because I'm a skeptic. I'm a believer in science, logic, and not in any way a believer in nonsense, pseudoscience, mystical nonsense and shenanigans, none of that rubbish. So Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is a great podcast. Also funny as well. If you're equally minded and a sensible person, then yeah, go give it a listen. I do recommend it. It's good fun. You might learn a bit as well. I think I'm up to about 2014 now. I've just caught up to 2014. So I've still got 5 years worth of podcasts to go. I've been going through it it's kept me company painting for a long time. Now I've got to be careful on the armour here because there's so many edges. And I don't want to overload the armour with scratches and stuff because there's such small areas that it will look a bit weird if I go too crazy. However, on that bit there, we've got this dark panel line. What I might do is trying to get a bit of the chipping there, so it doesn't go over the panel line, just to suggest a different plate of armour. Because I don't want to fill the panel line in, that's absolutely what I don't want to do. I'm going to put a couple of scratches in there perhaps. Very subtle, very delicate. There we go. Focus on leading edges of things and areas where perhaps different armour plates might come in contact. Somehow we're talking about dogging and I don't quite know. I don't want to get involved in that one. In chat, I mean. I'm not getting involved in that. Yeah. It's a closed American airbase and was really called Rendlesham Air Station, says Dave. I know, I've just never heard the phrase air station before. I knew it was an air base. I know all about Rendlesham. When it comes to conspiracy nonsense, I know all about that stuff. I did used to be a regular at abovetopsecret.com till it just became a horrible toxic wasteland. When it used to actually be about conspiracy theories and not just political mudslinging, I used to go to abovetopsecret.com all the time because it was a fascinating place, because it wasn't that I believed any of the conspiracy theories. It was all just nonsense. But it was fascinating to read about them, and some of the stuff on there was actually interesting. They had a whole group, a whole forum post that was dedicated to monitoring Yellowstone and what was happening, and they had a few guys in there that were, you know, qualified geologists and reading through the released data. And I think there was like a swarm at the time, and the whole thing kicked off and everybody was like, ooh, and then it kind of just carried on for a long time talking about the activity at Yellowstone. That was quite fascinating. But it was more just, it was a fun place to go and read all the loonies with their tinfoil hats. But eventually it just turned into a horrible political mud pit, slinging horrible, it's just a horrible place. I don't recommend anybody go there now. Vile place. But it used to be a bit more apolitical and a lot more conspiracy theory type stuff. And some science discussion. Some of it was interesting. There were some intelligent people on there. But eventually it just all filtered out to right-wing bollocks. So I gave up and stopped going. I don't know what chat's talking about now. I think the only aliens amongst us are Tranmere Rovers and Manchester United fans. Those folk are weird lizard people, says Gaz Vickers. Yeah. So, same as we did on the helmet, we're just going around edges, putting a little bit of life and interest into things. There's not really a lot you can do. I'm not going to make, what I probably will do on the bodywork here is actually do a bit less of the dark grey colour in some of these yellow chips, because these are sort of small areas, it will be very easy to overpower everything and just make it into a patchwork mess of the greys and the yellows and the dark yellows. So I've got to be careful and show some restraint, a little bit of restraint here and there. So it might be that I do, this amount of yellow, but then I do less of, I hope I'm on camera, less of the, just about, less of the dark grey. Just to balance stuff out a little bit. We'll see. Again, we are going for a kind of stylised, cartoony look anyway, so it's not absolutely imperative. Next door's cat wants to go in. I can hear it meowing. It's like, open the damn door, woman. Meow. It sounds quite nuts. It's like, hello, I've been here for 20 minutes. You're not opening the door. What's going on? Come on, Mum, let me in. It doesn't sound very happy. Bless it. See, I've done quite a lot of yellow and light yellow there. What I can do, if you want to be clever, is get a little bit of water and just smush that around a bit while it's still wet. And what you're doing is kind of making a glaze, so that when that dries, it'll be a few spotty bits where I've done some chips, and then a fade from the light yellow to the dark yellow. So if you put too much on, if you're fast, you can smush it around a little bit and blend it away. It's quite interesting if you can do that. It's not always possible, but it's not impossible. Cat's still not gone in yet. It's still shouting downstairs. I can hear it. I like next door's cat. It's just a ginger thing. It just sits in the garden and looks at you. It's not the kind of cat that will come up and say hello, because it's not quite that brave. Like if you're in the garden, if it's in the garden and you go out and you see it, it'll sit and look at you for a bit. From a distance, it'll be like, I'm a long way away, so I'm safe. It'll look at you. You say hello. It'll look at you. And then it'll just saunter off. Be cool if it got dead friendly, because it'd be a way for us to have a cat without actually having to have a cat. Because the thing is, I'm a kind of dog person, right? This is the weird thing about my dog. I'm a dog person, but I'm far too lazy to actually have a dog. Because if I had a dog, I want it to be like a Hollywood dog, where it's intelligent and understands everything you say and doesn't actually ever need to go for a crap or go for a walk because it's just like your best mate. Unfortunately, that kind of thing doesn't actually exist in real life. So I'm far too lazy to take a dog for walks and stuff, much as I love them. So I'd settle for a cat, because it could just sort itself out. Take the cat for a walk. No, just open the door. Bye. I get a companion for an occasional companion when it wants to be friendly, and the rest of the time it just does its own thing, and that's fine by me. So, yeah, I'm a dog person, but I'd probably have to settle for a cat. I'd be a terrible dog owner. I really would. I'm far too lazy. I'm going to do a big load of chips here. I've kind of gone a bit too far on the back of this leg, so I'm going to go all in and just do a big chipping area on the back. Because you can't have a dark yellow leg with one single patch of lots and lots and lots of chipping. It makes more sense if you go too far, just go all in and make like half the piece of armour the light colour. That way you can say it's not just a big chip in the middle of nowhere, it's so chipped that most of it's kind of that colour anyway. It just go all out then. Because you look at anything, you do find things where the paint's chipped off a lot of the surface. Like I said, if you're playing Destiny 2, go and look at the Arcadia jump ship that you get if you start the new campaign. Look at the chipping on the back of that. It's fantastic. It's like dark grey, but most of it's like a light grey. It looks beautiful. Let's have a look. Chat doing. Doodle-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Purely based on numbers, we can't be the only intelligent life out there, though our intelligence is doubtful at times. I mean jeggings. Yes, if just based on numbers, if somebody turns to you and says there's no other life in the universe, you can justifiably point at them and laugh and call them an idiot, because of course there's life out there. Just based on the sheer number of stars and planets that will be out there, you'd have to be a complete moron to believe that. There's nothing else out there. We need to start a new conspiracy theory that Mama Fox is the true queen and the one in London is a 7-foot-tall reptilian. Yeah, talk to a lot of people. There are people that would say the queen anyway is a 7-foot-tall reptilian. David Icke and all his morons. Oh, seriously, people believe that rubbish? Jesus. It makes me laugh how these people make money doing these stupid conspiracy theories. And it's like, people believe this crap? God. It's like all these like indigo children. It's kind of like, it's always like sort of middle class people that believe all this drivel. It's just ridiculous. Seriously. There are some idiots out there. Now the kneecaps here, I'm going to do a bit more chipping than you would think, because of course it's a kneecap. It would take a lot of damage. Mostly focused on the centre and the bottom here, but it's a kneecap. It would take more damage. And I'm not afraid to go over the lettering that I painted on there. Do a straight line across there like that. Do a line down there. Because remember, when you're doing chipping and weathering, if you've got markings painted on a vehicle or arm or whatever, they're not immune to the weathering that the rest of the thing is going through. You know, if I take a car and I paint a big letter W on the front and then I leave it in a junkyard for 30 years, you're not going to come out with a car all rusted and beaten, but the letter W looks fantastic. No, that's not how weathering works. It'll get rusted and weathered the same as everything else. So there you go. What time are we on? 44. I'll call it a stop in a minute. There we go. I hope you can see all this. I'm not really checking as to where everything is on screen. So I've been a little bit transparent with the yellow, the light yellow. I shall be a bit more, even more transparent. So you can see the black U underneath some of that yellow. But what I'm going to do is get some extra thin down yellow and just run it over the U there where the rest of it is. And then get some more water and work that around so that although it's not completely covering the U, and it's not completely removing any of the chips, it just means that where you've got the chips, it's not just necessarily solid yellow chips and then the black U. You've got this kind of bit of the U, the black U, that's sort of yellowy faded. So it looks like in some places the black paint has chipped away just straight off and you've got the light yellow, and in some places the paint has just been rubbed and faded a bit and it looks a little bit yellow. I'm just going to do that with the hairdryer. 1 second. Hairdryer time. Hair drying. It's not exciting. There we go. Let me just wipe my nose again because I've got the runny nose again. If I was just sitting here painting with all the lights on, I wouldn't have a sniffly nose. If I was just sat here doing nothing with all the lights on, I wouldn't have a sniffly nose. Ooh, but the moment I start broadcasting, this is Broadcasting House. So I don't know if you can see on the I don't know if it'll come out on camera. I really can't tell because you guys remember not seeing the real thing. You're not seeing it exactly like it looks. But on the U there, you can see there's a few chips that cover the U, and there's not a big square bit that you can see there, but then it's also faded a bit, and it's just a bit of a glaze really. So I'll do another little bit just to glaze it even more, because there is a big square bit there. It's bizarre, like a little square chip. So I managed to do a perfect square edge somehow. There we go. So it just gives it that kind of effect where some of the yellow is just bright yellow. Some of the, the U, the letter U is just chipped away completely and all you see is yellow. Because imagine the U is either painted on or it's a vinyl on. If this was real armour, the Space Marine will have painted the letter U on top of the yellow paint. So in some places that black paint has chipped away. And in some places it's perfect, it's not touched and it's just black. And in some places it's just faded a bit. It's a bit rubbed and it's just faded and you can sort of see the yellow through it a little bit. Same with on there. In fact, I might do the same little... Oh no, I'll leave that one as it is. But we get that kind of effect. Because the knees, you would assume that knees take a lot of damage because obviously they're knees. That's what you kneel on. So there you go. I'll do the same on the feet as well. Give them a fair bit of damage. So where that text is there, it'll kind of cover over that a bit. Yeah. But it's coming on nicely. So what I'll do, before next week's show, I will get the rest of the chipping, the yellow and the dark grey done. Because it's tedious for you to sit there watching me doing that. And in fact, that might even be it. I mean, there might not be much left to do after that. It may just be then that I finish off the base and we're done. So next week, if I remember to do it, I'll get all that done. We've got the eyes and stuff to do. Well, there's still little bits we can do. We'll carry on next week anyway. So whatever we're doing next week, I'll figure something out. But I'll try and, unlike last week where I said that and then I totally didn't, unlike last week, this week I'll try and actually do that. Yeah. Let me zoom out for you. Oh, where are we? Zooming out now, sir. There we go, sir. Much better, sir. So I'll put him down there so you can see him. Let's have a quick last look at chat. Nom 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 nom. Coffee. Right, so. Two of the guys from the Rendlesham Forest incident actually get disability over it from the US government, so something must have happened. No. Probably not. They probably get disability because they've managed to blag disability out of the US Army, so Django says, I think I have some sort of curse where I can't win a sticker until Fox sends them out, and then the first stream after I get one. Need more of them buggers. I need people's opinions. Me and the missus can't decide. Dinner equals pizza or KFC. I would say if it's anything like Domino's or Papa John's or Pizza Hut, then definitely go for KFC. Because there's no point spending 20 quid on a pizza that you can buy for 3 or 4 quid and make yourself, or go to your local takeout. But if it's not from one of them, if it's from a local takeaway place where you're paying like 5 or 6 quid for a nice pizza, then pizza. Gaz says KFC. Django says pizza. Nim says KFC. Kevin Reynolds says ours doesn't get plumbed till tomorrow. Oh, our oven doesn't get plumbed until tomorrow. Right, okay. So, yeah, it's going to be pre-made pizza. If it's a local takeaway, then pizza. If it's like a proper takeaway, if it's a chain place like Pizza Hut or Domino's, yeah, don't bother. Don't bother. Do not. I refuse to go to Domino's, Pizza Hut or anything like that. I'm no way I'm spending 15 to 20 quid on a single pizza when I can go to the little kebab shop round the corner and pay 5 quid for a really, really nice pizza. KFC, don't forget the gravy, says Dad. Yeah, because they keep forgetting to give him gravy when he asks for it. He must have knocked them off at some point somehow. KFC is a no-brainer. Pizza. The answers are. It's just jumped. Paul Di Tommaso. Hey, Paul. Didn't notice you're in there. Paul Di Tommaso says pizza. Cynical Steve says pizza. Lynn says Kevin. I don't get that. Wait, what? Dad says, you got the wrong oven side. They don't work with water. And Si says, yes, Dad, you know it with their new mashed potatoes. Plumbed in, it's gas. Right. Okay. The missus made us buy a gas oven and rip out the brand new electric hob because she's Italian and fussy. Yeah. Lynn Dipple says, those are the best pets, the ones you don't own. Yeah, I've just heard the neighbour outside now. I think she just let the cat in. She's going up and down the garden. So, I would say the reason I was hoping that cat next door would I've got to be quiet now because she might be outside. The reason I was hoping next door's cat would be friendly is because we basically get a free cat with no responsibility. Because it'd be kind of cool to have a cat that could come in and just chill out and be a cat, hang out. Because I like cats. I'm more of a dog guy, but it'd be nice if it's like the kind of cat you could hang out with and then it just goes home for its tea. Yes, that'd be great. Free cat. No vet bills. Anyway, you need to get a ragdoll. They are lazy as hell and cuddly too, says Nim. Oh, yeah. Butch, that model says dog, the best friend, loyal, can do interesting stuff, can guide people, cat equal craps in a tray. Yeah, but a cat can be loving too. It's just I don't have to take it for a walk on a rainy or cold day. Captain Nemo has 4 lurchers. I prefer dogs, but I'm far too lazy to have a dog. Because it's like, I should take the dog for a walk, but it's cold. Or I could just let it crap in the garden, and I could stay here playing Destiny. Yeah, you know where that one's going to go. Osric 9000 says, one of my snakes threw up last night. Partly digested mouse is not a good smell. Ew. The fact that it's a snake. How often does somebody say, one of my snakes threw up last night? I hate when that happens. Beck Storm says, cats are great. Don't have one because my mum's allergic, but we have a few that like to visit us from time to time. Try and save some roast chicken bits for them. Last year we were putting hedgehog food out for the hodgepodge that was in our garden, and we kind of realised after a while that we just stopped because all the hedgehog food was being eaten by all the local cats. We haven't got a hedgehog, it's not in the garden this year. We stopped putting food out because it wasn't getting a look in. By the time I looked through our security camera footage, and every night you can see there's a succession of all these different cats going through our garden, and they all follow the same route, weirdly. They follow the same route through the garden, but it's like you might have 20 security pictures a night. It's like cat, fox, cat, hedgehog, cat. So we're like, you know what? There's no point in putting food out for the hedgehog. It's just not getting anywhere near them. Nim can't have a cat because the landlord doesn't have pets. I've always wanted a husky though, says Beck Storm. Yeah, that'd be cool. They're very shouty. Raging Bassist wants to finish his Clockwork Dragon, needs to get the final gold layer, but he has the lazy. Nothing worse. I'd rather have a pet that craps in a box than all over my yard that I have to clean up afterwards, says Paul Di Tommaso. Good point. Lim says the new place she might be moving to, a friend of a friend, has 2 kitties, just need to get his landlord to send me the renter's application. David Butch, that model's got fish, and Sue farts in bed has 2 cats. Lynn is allergic to cats, apparently. Simon Reynolds reminds everybody, oh yes, folks in chat, if you are a member of the Model Makers Boom Hut, the most awesomest awesome of awesome groups on the internet, if one of you could, he's already done it, the Model Makers Boom Hut Secret Santa is now open for 2019. Yes, we're doing a Secret Santa again, where basically members can send a parcel or a prize or a gift or whatever you want to do to another member anonymously. Secret Santa, of course, you can put your name on it if you want, it's up to you. But for instructions how to take part, you need to go to the Boom Hut on the Facebooks. Si did post the link, but if anybody's watching now, they'll be where the chat is now. If you can post the link again for the Boom Hut for me. If you go to the Boom Hut, the announcements on the top, one of them is about the Secret Santa. Do not put all your information in the comments on the post, and do not message Si Reynolds directly with the details. In there, he says you need to send him an email to a specific email address that I've forgotten what it is. It's in the post with all the details. Read through the blurb and see what you need to do, and then mail that mail address, because he's looking after it and he's collating everybody who's doing everything. So you don't send him. He doesn't want messages on Facebook or comments in the post. He needs an email, because he can't collate some comments on Facebook and some message on Facebook, and so he just needs one little place. So just mail him. It's in there in the mail. Secret Santa, send him a mail to that address with the details he's asked for. Let's have a look. Go and have a look. When did Fox go wash his hair? Hey? Check the Boom Hut for details. There you go. Puts a link in there. I would love a red-tailed hawk or an owl. Every time you hear anything set in America and you hear that hawk go psh in the background, that's a red-tailed hawk. That classic Wild West movie hawk sound in the background, or in video games, it's a red-tailed hawk. £5 says Fox would have a puffin. Oh yeah, you can bet it. Snowman says, need to go feed my reptile babies. Bye y'all. Thanks for coming in, Snowman. We'll be finishing very shortly. Si Reynolds says, we need to explore the local takeaways now, so that's why it's a hard choice. Why don't you just go and get a curry? You said you got pizza or something else. Why not just go for a curry? That's always the right option. Find your local curry shop. Candy Graham says, I could have bought a perfect grade Bandai Millennium Falcon for yesterday's unexpected vet bill. Dogs are still awesome though. Yes. Raging Bases has 3 dogs, a terrier and 2 Northern Inuits. My friend Mike, who now lives in New Zealand, had a Northern Inuit called Kaya. She was a beautiful dog. She was as dumb as a bag of hammers. She was the dumbest thing ever. She was adorable. I loved her to bits. She used to run like an idiot, and then to make herself stop, she'd just basically bury her head into the ground and use it like an air brake. Like you get on a plane on an aircraft carrier, it drops the hook and it grabs the wire and stops it. That was basically the job her head did when she was running. She'd run like this, and then she'd go, I need to stop, splonk her head down into the ground, flump, and she'd fall over, but then she stopped. She was awesome. She died a couple of years ago, bless her, but yeah, she was gorgeous. She had lots of wrong with her. She had lots of kidney problems and all kinds of stuff going on. Paul Di Tommaso says the email address to send your details to is boomhutsecretsanta@gmail.com. But do read the post and make sure you follow the instructions. If you send Si all the wrong information, or if you ask a question that is answered in the post, he reserves the right to mock you mercilessly. Like mercilessly. I mean, really, mercilessly, he will. We have had conversations in private chats. We have had conversations where we've pointed and laughed. Because people are like, Secret Santa, when is it? Well, it's Christmas, isn't it? So, yeah, just make sure you read the post. But do join him. It's a great way. I didn't do last year, so I'm going to try and take part this year, possibly. It's such a good way. And don't worry, we're not expecting everybody to send like perfect grade stuff and expensive kits. It can be anything. You can send anything you want. It could be a little cheap £5 thing. It could be a 50 quid kit. It could be a 80 quid master grade. Doesn't matter. Whatever you can afford. And the one thing we have been clear about, and Simon said in the post, is that the one thing we do not want is someone whinging because they got a present worth a few quid where somebody else got a present worth 70 quid. If anybody complains, they'll be kicked out the Boom Hut. Because it's supposed to be fun. Some people can afford expensive things and are very kind like that, and some people can afford not very much at all and might send you a brush or you know, a modelling knife. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you spend, whether it's a lot or a little. It's the silly fun and the niceness and the kindness and the community that matters. So don't stress if you can't afford, you know, if I can send you this brush. There you go. It's something, isn't it? So it doesn't matter. So no complaining. Anybody whinges about what they get, they'll be kicked out of the boom for being a spoon. Only please message me if you directly have an outstanding question. I've had so many people message me details. I just direct them to email me. Yes. I did it via Messenger last year. It was an ass. Yes. So basically, if he's got a list, if he's got an inbox for that email address, he can see exactly who's doing what. Raging Basis says, when Revi, one of his Inuits, was a pup, she would run like a crazed thing, and she ran into our clothesline, fractured a shoulder, and carried on. Crazy doggo. Yes. Dave says, I'm doing it just for the chance of getting Fox. Steady now. I'm not sending myself through the post. Sai says, the key is, guys, it's spend as much or as little as you want. It's to take part in the community. We have an absolutely awesome community here. Embrace it and take part. It's the thought that counts, says Paul D. Tomaso. Yes, like I say, it doesn't matter if you spend £1 or £1,000. I mean, trust me, if you spend £1,000 sending someone something, you're an awesome human being. But if you've only got a fiver and you send someone a pot of paint, you're still an awesome human being. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm permanently skinned. If I take part, you're not going to be getting much from me because I can't afford anything. And you guys pay my wages, so I don't earn a lot of money. So yeah, you won't get much from me. You might get a roll of tape or something. Oh, I'll be like, right, I'm going to send you Secret Santa. I'll send you. Let's see if I can. I'll send you this old brush. It looks a bit rubbish. It's my canopy glue brush. It looks a bit rubbish, but that's been in my mouth, so it's worth a lot of money one day. That. Don't throw it away. It's worth nothing now, but it's worth a fortune one day. You wait and see. Yeah, I'll be famous one day. One day I'll be famous. God damn it. What are you going to do after the Angry Marine, says Carolina Roberto. This is just... Okay, the whole point of Warhammer Sunday was that I was working on my own personal Warhammer army. The unending forces of the Holy Contrivance, which was a Principality of Zeon from Mobile Suit Gundam themed Imperial Army. However, I then started doing the Warhammer Conquest part work, and I decided that what I need to do is, because those things are piling up on me, I need to start getting all that stuff built so I can paint it later in the year or next year. So I started just building them on the Warhammer Sundays to get it done. Then I got this thing a couple of months ago, so I've been painting that. Once I've done this, I'll go back to getting all the Warhammer Conquest stuff built. My idea is, with Warhammer Conquest, I was filming, every time I got a magazine, I'd film, here's what the magazine says, let's do that. I decided that's a waste of time. It took me a lifetime, and there's no point showing you what the magazine shows you to do. What I'm going to do is actually get all the magazines in. When I've got the last magazine from Warhammer Conquest, get everything built and ready for paint, and then I will just film painting them properly, not just doing the crappy magazine paint, but painting. So I'll do a video where I paint a Space Marine, and I'll paint all the space. I won't do it like for every single one, but I'll do Space Marine. I'll paint a named character. I'll paint the repulsor tank. I'll paint the Death Guard. So I'll break it down into the different bits, and I'll paint them and film them. So it's going to be next year, but when this is done, we're going back to me trying to build the crap out of the 400 things I've got piling up in the spare bedroom, because right now I've got boxes and boxes piling up with all the Warhammer stuff still in its envelopes. So I need to get that done. So this is going to get finished next week or two, and then we'll crack on with the Warhammer Conquest. In real life, when I'm not at weekend, at the moment I'm currently building a Master Grade Sazabi Verkar, which will be painted in the livery of the Shanghai Dragons Overwatch team, and will be also painted in the style of Borderlands 2. And that's for George, who's one of my patrons. It's a Patreon reward build for him. When that's finished, that's then going to be moving on to the Perfect Grade Millennium Falcon, which I'm doing for my sponsor eModels. And when that's done, I'm absolutely free then to do whatever the hell I want. Yes, finally, I can get back to do my own stuff. And I don't know at that point. I don't know. I've also got the ongoing D'Agostini build your own X-Wing build as well, but that's like once a month, so that's not so bad. I'll just carry on regardless. So there's lots of things in the books. I've got a lot of things I need to do. Once I've done the Sazabi and I've got the Millennium Falcon done, I've got a massive backlog of stuff. I've got a 1/500 scale space battleship Yamato. I've got a Kshatriya that I need to build, my high grade Kshatriya. I've got the Imperial Knights Renegade set with 2 Imperial Knights I need to do. I've got tanks, I've got a couple of planes, I've got a Valkyrie, I've got loads of things. I've got a 160 scale Freedom Gundam. I never did finish my Perfect Grade Zaku. I've got the Deep Space Nine Federation Runabout Yangtze Kiang. I've got a Sinanju that was sent me by Demir Kahunjik that I've not done. I've got a Macross RVF 25 Messiah to do. I've got a Halo Warthog that my very dear friend Kenneth in Australia sent me. I've got a High New Gundam that Josh Rogers sent me about 1,000 years ago. I've got the Space Battleship Yamato that I need to do. I bought that Yamato and then I never touched it. So yeah, and as Chris at Gross Model says, a widge to paint. Yes. So I've got lots and lots and lots of things. Beck Storm says, oh God, you've got a 500 scale Battleship Yamato and a Kshatriya. Yeah, I just never got around to it. I've decided what I'm doing though with the Kshatriya. Here's the thing. I've had a cunning idea. I'm going to wipe my nose. Going forward, in the coming years, as I do the gun I could never think of colour schemes to do because the existing colour schemes are boring. I could never think of colour schemes. So when I do the Kshatriya, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through Destiny shaders. Bear with me. I'm going to go into Destiny or Destiny 2 and I'm going to get a character up and I'm going to look at the different shaders. And the shaders are basically 4 colours. It's a square with 4 different colours. And it uses those 4 colours to paint the whole thing. It's different patterns and different textures and logos, but like you might have an object, like you might have this object, and you apply one shader, and that bit might be gold, that green, that brown, that red. You apply a different shader, that bit might be black, and that's blue, that's green, that's pink. Each shade is different, and they have different patterns and styles and markings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through Destiny shaders for the Kshatriya, and I'm going to pick out a shader and a pattern that looks awesome, and I'm going to say that's how I'm going to paint my Kshatriya. Because I can sit there and I can spend days trying to think of a colour scheme for a Gunpla, and I can't. You think it'd be simple. Here's a Gunpla, what colour scheme? Don't know. I just can't. It's like the 160 Freedom Gundam, the no-grade Freedom Gundam. I've got to do that. What colour am I going to do that? I don't want to do it normal colour. So yes, so I'm going to do that. So that's going to be my... So it may be, I may do it like a Hucker style, the Hucker, the gun manufacturer. So I'll get some decals printed out and I'd have like the red and white Kudra patterns and stuff and stripes and things. We'll find out. We'll see how it goes. Could be anything. Let's have a look. Where was up to? Gotta go, it's nearly home time. Unless side plates a bloat drone, then we'll all chuck ones in the bin in shame. I don't know what we're talking about. Butcher that model says the bloat drone is a fun one to paint, but we need to be painting sub stages. I was painting stages anyway. As I'm building the stuff for Warhammer Conquest, I will keep half an eye on it as to what I can glue in and what I can't. I've got a few kits. I've got a couple of the Orc vehicles down there. I've got the Boomdacker Snazwagon and the Squig Buggy built and not painted yet, and a couple of other things where they're built in sub-assemblies. Like I've got the Star Drake. I know me doing a Sigmar kit. I've got the Shouty Space Horse, and it's kind of partly built, but I've built them into bits where I know I can paint and bits where I've left things off. So it'll be like that. Some of them will be sub-assemblies, some of them will be fully built. That's a good idea, says Bulfwin. Welcome, Bulfwin. Destiny has a lot of good inspiration to draw from. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just some of the shaders and patterns. And I might make them like manufacturer based. So I might have the Kshatriya might be a Hucker, whereas I might do another one that's going to be like a Daito or Suros or something. Do a Gunpla after the Suros regime style. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Raging Basie says you should do some of the Nolzo minis you got from Goblin. Don't remember what you got, but I'd watch. I watch anything, but you do, but you know. Yes, I've got those as well. I've got from Goblin. They did give me a few D&D miniatures. I also got a couple of mimics the other day, and some other bits and bobs. I've also got a load of like little Warhammer Astra Militarum that the guys at Goblin gave me very kindly. And I've also got I've got a flipping Baneblade. I've got a Baneblade. I've got a whole Baneblade in there that I bought, and the Skitari tank thing with. I've got loads of stuff I need to paint. Oh, many things. I've been drooling over the 1/350 Space Battleship Yamato for years. I didn't know there was a 1/350 scale one. The 1/500 scale is about 3 foot long, so I can imagine the 1/350 is even bigger. Butcher that model says get the Tamir 1/350 Yamato. It's one of the best kits he's ever built. Yeah, we're talking about the Space Battleship Yamato, not the actual Battleship Yamato there, Dave. Space Battleship, it's like the Yamato Battleship, but in space. Much more awesome. 2 hours till gross model show. Yes, I need to go now anyway, because it is 10 past 6. Look, it's 10 past the 6 o'clock. And thanks to Chris, I know it's the 13th, because he taught me how to set the date on my watch. I don't know how to do analog watches. I was like, I can't set the date. It takes me months. So no, just go. Yeah, anyway. So yes, we'll call it there. It's been a good show. Thank you very much for watching. I've got a fair bit of chipping done. Just the base yellow. I'll get the rest of the chipping, everything else finished. Next week, we'll either carry on with this if there's stuff still to do, or I'll have finished it anyway, and we'll just crack on with something else then. But if I do get this finished off camera, I'll come back and show you what I've done. And I'll put some pictures up in the boom hut as well anyway, and everywhere else. But that just remains for me to say, don't forget, tonight, in a couple of hours, 8 PM on Chris's channel, Gross Models. He's in chat. He's just typed some words in the chat. Go and check out his channel, because he does his Warhammer Sunday, Warhamster, at 8 o'clock for an hour and a half or so. He's painting his very, very orange Mango Drango, big shouty dragon. So yes, go and check out that at 8 PM. I'll be back on Monday, of course, with Chris and Ted for the E-Model show on Monday night on E-Model's channel. I've already started filming the next Sazabi episode, but do be aware, with the Sazabi episodes, apart from being Patreon exclusive, it is at the point now where I will film 5 minutes of me doing some chipping, and then I'll spend the rest of the week doing the chipping. So, and then I can't film the next bit until I've done that. So at the moment with the Sazabi, if you're not seeing content, don't panic. It just means it's taken me a long time to make the content, because if I was filming like this chipping I've done today, it literally will be 1 minute of footage and then a day and a half of painting that I can't film. So it might take a while for the next episode to come out, because I'll just be doing all the chipping and all the other bits and bobs. But I will do some more live streams when I get decals to do. I'll do some more live streams for that, for non-patrons, so do stay tuned. As always, don't forget, of course, this show is supported by Goblin Gaming. Use the link that's in the description below this video to get 20% off Games Workshop, Malifaux and Conflict 47, and massive savings of everything else. Use that link purely because that means they know you've come from me, and they will give me a little bit of income every time you place an order. It doesn't cost you a penny. I make a little bit of commission. If you use their normal link, then I don't exist and I make nothing. And you don't help me at all. But you can make some massive savings. So go and check out that link below. And that'll do us. So thank you very much for watching. I should put my other glasses on so I can see what I'm doing on the telly box. Hang on the computer, Bob. There we go. Other glasses. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. That's his name, Tango Drango. I thought it was Mango Drango. One of the two. Mango, Tango, Drango. There we go. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. You there. You there. I can see you. I can see you. I'm pointing. Look, there's your eye. I've just poked you in the eye. How was that painful? Sorry. I'm talking rubbish. Take care of yourself. Go make something awesome. And I shall say, adios amoebas. Hang on, I've got to press a button now.